Chapter 281, Where is Heinberg and Tiberius now? Michael asked. His voice was serious yet he remained calm. There was no expression except calmness on his face. Here, Gaia pointed at the far south side of Geisel where the city border meets the ocean. It's where the sewage opens and am not coming in, she firmly said. The last thing she would do was rummage through their sewage. Am not planning to take you with me. You make sure the senators are in their places as we are planned. If I didn't give you the signal by the time, save Caius and Maxine from the explosion first. And if you can, I can't believe I'm saying this. Save the nobles. Michael let out a peal of tired laughter. The nobles were indeed important but not as important as Caius or Maxine. Of course, he planned to subdue the gladiators before they could blow up the arena using their own explosives. Nonetheless, he always liked to have multiple plans. Go, Heinberg and Tiberius will meet you at the entrance, Michael nodded, and try not to stink more when you return, she laughed. He'll bring a bucket of sewage water for you to bath. You, go fuck yourself you gross bastard. Before she could throw something at him, a bright light enveloped him. In a blink of an eye, he disappeared from the room. Michael appeared in a dark alley behind a 3-story building. The alley was located near the docks. He marked this place when he was staying in the city. Instead of walking towards the place where Heinberg and Tiberius were waiting for him, Michael cast the lightning dash to take off from the ground. In a few seconds he was in the air above everyone and everything else. He could see the ships coming in and out of the docks. The sun was halfway above the horizon. The sparkling blue ocean had golden light decorating it as a gem on a crown. Calming ocean wind brushed past Michael while his raven black hair fluttered in the wind, making his hair look messier and messier. Michael willed the system to equip his Lucifer armor with a mask. In a flash, he completely transformed himself into Lucifer except for the black cloud and the red eyes. Meanwhile, at the sewage entrance, Heinberg and Tiberius were waiting for Michael. The sewage entrance was a large circular hole with a few iron bars. Most of the iron bars were corroded, leaving plenty of space for someone to enter the sewage. The entrance was located under a bridge which gave enough darkness for the two of them to avoid detection by soldiers. So how long have you been working for them? Tiberius asked, leaning on the brick wall. Heinberg was watching around to see if anyone's coming when he heard Tiberius' question. Couple of weeks, Tiberius arched his brows as he was surprised. For a guy who has been doing this for a couple of weeks, you seem pretty loyal to them. Fear. Instead of giving Tiberius a long answer, Heinberg uttered only a word. Fear. Well, if I saw someone fly like a bird and use magic inside the void line, it'd freak me out too, Tiberius shrugged. You've only seen a glimpse of what they can do, Tiberius. Tiberius wasn't interested in what they had done. He was more interested in what they could do to this godforsaken continent. Do you think they could do what the rebels are trying to do? I don't think I know. They will change the fate of this continent for better or worse. Whoa. As they were speaking, Tiberius saw a dark figure suddenly land before the sewage entrance. He recognized the armor, yet this was the first time Tiberius saw Michael with his skull mask on. Let's go find your friends. Without wasting a second, Michael leaped from the ground to enter the sewage tunnel. Like an obedient servant, Heinberg climbed up the sewage entrance following Michael. Tiberius entered lastly. Jarrett Heinberg thought the stink outside was overwhelming, but compared to the inside, the outside stink was nothing. He had to cover his nose while following Michael. When Michael entered the dark forest with Gaia, he was poisoned with fear toxin. This lesson taught Michael to design his mask to filter toxins, poisons, and any particles that could harm him. With the inventor trait, his knowledge in alchemy, and a few parts from the system, he was able to build a mini filtration device inside his mask. Fortunately, the mask filtered most of the stink but not completely. The further they walked into the tunnel, the less they saw what's in front of them. There was no torture or holes in the ceiling for the sunlight to come through. Hence, Michael had to conjure an orb of light to lighten the path. The red orb of light soon made everything clear for Tiberius and Heinberg. While moving forward, Michael was searching for footprints, yet he couldn't see one because the sewage water cleared any footpaths or evidence of the gladiators who walked the path before. After walking for a few minutes, Michael finally saw a crumbled wall. The brick wall had a hole large enough for a few men to walk side by side. They used some kind of explosion to blow this hole, Heinberg told Michael. A mini version of it anyways. We are still below the streets. If the explosion wasn't a small one, the soldiers would have felt the shake and come to check. That means there's someone with knowledge and explosions was with them. Tiberius seemed like he has just realized something. That son of a bitch Mark. Before he was a gladiator, he worked as a bodyguard for a scholar who specialized in explosives. He bragged about this when he was drunk. Thinking about Mark made Tiberius' blood boil in anger. Ever since his limbs started to shake due to the wound he suffered in the hands of Hirius, Mark tried to undermine him every chance he got. After Titus, Optimus and Tiberius, Mark wiggled himself onto Doctor's side. Tiberius always felt a bad vibe from Mark. "We have to stop them from blowing shit up if you want your plan to work." Michael let in Tiberius with his plan because he wanted everyone to be up to speed for the plan to work. Michael pointed his finger towards the hole as the orb of light flew into the hole, lighting the path. Michael could see there are numerous paths branching out at the end of the tunnel. "Shit," Tiberius cursed. Michael was prepared for this, that was why he brought some friends. Tiberius and Heinberg expected Michael to enter the hole searching for the gladiators. However, instead of stepping into the hole, Michael willed the system as several tiny drones appeared in front of him. The drones produced a faint humming sound as they moved into the hole. Neither of them had ever seen such things before in their lives. They just stared at the drones disappearing into the darkness with their mouths slightly open. Michael closed his eyes for a second when the drones reached the junction where there were 7 branching out tunnels ahead of the drones. He had a total of 14 drones. He sent 2 drones in each tunnel. The drones traveled extremely fast. Controlling all of them at once took a toll on his brain as he began to feel a slight headache. Ignoring the headache, he completely focused on controlling the drones. Each tunnel was long, dark, and inhibited by nothing but rats and spiders. The drones flew cutting through the spiderwebs like a hot knife through butter. Michael abruptly opened his eyes when he saw a dead body through the drone he sent into the 5th tunnel. "Follow me." Michael stopped controlling a few drones to free his mind. He then walked into the tunnel towards the 5th tunnel where he found the dead body. "Did you find something?" After seeing Michael choose this particular tunnel from the 7 tunnels, Tiberius wondered why. "Yes, a dead body." Tiberius felt a chill running through his spine. Despite his disagreements with the gladiators, he respected all the gladiators and people who had the guts to rebel against their masters. Furthermore, he knew the gladiators who came here to blow up the arena would be the core group including Doctorus. He wouldn't call the core group his friends, yet the thought of one of them might be dead created a bad feeling in his gut. After a few minutes of walking, the 3 of them began to vaguely see the dead body in the distance. The orb of light illuminated the body as well as the bloodstains on the wall. Michael looked around for any booby traps left by the killer. They couldn't see the face but only the stab wound on the back as the face was facing the ground. The dead one was tall, numerous paths are branching at least 6 feet 5 inches. He had a muscular body with old burn marks on his body. In addition to the scars under the orb of light, Michael could see that the man was black. No, it can't be." Tiberius rushed at the body, splashing sewage water all around him. He immediately knelt beside the body, ignoring the sewage water before turning the body, Doctorus. Chapter 282. Michael didn't say anything, but he was indeed surprised. He heard Tiberius talk about Doctorus when he asked him about the slave rebellion. The man trained some of the best gladiators in the southern continent, including Titus and Optimus. It was a pity to find this man dead. Michael planned to recruit him and make him train his own personal army of gladiators. "Come on, wake up, old man." Tiberius shook Doctorus' body frantically. "Do something." "He's dead, Tiberius. Someone stabbed him in the back." Michael pointed out the stab wound in the back. "We might catch whoever did this when we meet the other gladiators. Let's hope they're alive." Tiberius just realized that whoever killed Doctorus might have gone to kill the rest of them. Still, Tiberius couldn't believe a single man could have killed Doctorus. As far as he knew, it would take 10 gladiators to even wound Doctorus, let alone kill him. In anger and shock, Tiberius failed to see the simple yet most correct conclusion. The drone hovering above them flew further into the tunnel, searching for the gladiators while Tiberius stood up carrying Doctorus' body in his arms. "He'll not leave him in this stinking hell. Well, give him a proper burial," Michael said before following the drone's path. Finding Doctorus dead made Michael speed up things. He drove the drone as fast as the drone could fly. It was obvious to Michael that someone among the gladiators was a traitor. "Lord Lucifer." As they were walking, Heinberg called Michael. "Speak. Isn't it dangerous for us to walk into a place that's filled with explosives? Whoever killed him might have booby-trapped it to explode." Tiberius was too drowned in anger and grief to listen to Heinberg. He just walked behind them carrying Doctor's body. All of his moments with Doctorus flashed across his eyes. He was dead for at least 3 hours. That's plenty of time to set off the explosives if he wanted to. And if I'm right, he won't be there with the gladiators. "Why do you say that?" Tiberius asked. Speaking of the killer brought Tiberius back from his flashbacks. He wanted to rip the throat off of the one who killed Doctorus. Tiberius promised himself and Doctorus that he would avenge him. He was stabbed in the back, which means Doctress trusted this person to turn his back and drop his guard. The traitor stabbed him in the back, killed him, and it's highly unlikely that he returned to the gladiators. If he had, they would have definitely asked where Doctress is and come searching for him. Michael abruptly stopped talking when he found the gladiators. They were gathered at a spacious hall where he could see several pillars going into the ceiling. 6 gladiators ahead. Michael fastened his steps. Eventually, after walking for 15 minutes, they saw the tunnel open up to a spacious hall. Several torches were lit around the hall to reveal the long pillars as well as a few sacks. Someone's coming. Who else would be coming other than Doctress? What was he doing out there? Give the man a break, this is our last day. What's that sound? The gladiators began to murmur, hearing the footsteps. Despite the drone flying above them and it's very silent, the gladiators still heard the faint humming sound it produced. Only because the drone was flying from one dark spot to another managed to evade their eyes. Guys, the gladiators looked closer at the tunnel to see the orb of light. Soon they became agitated seeing Michael walking out of the darkness. His full armor and the skull freaked them out. Yet they were quick enough to draw their swords out. Stand down. Tiberius' shout reverberated the hall. I heard that voice before, it's Tiberius. The 6 remaining gladiators saw Tiberius walk out of the darkness. For a moment the gladiators couldn't recognize Tiberius. It was because Tiberius wore a new plate armor with his long hair tied into a ponytail. Michael asked Heinberg to buy ready-made armor from a forge in Krilta for Tiberius. It was a temporary measure until he returned to Elon, made Jack his blacksmith and crafted custom-made armor for all of his subordinates. Tiberius. All the gladiators' faces lit up seeing Tiberius, but within a snap of time, their smiles disappeared from their faces. Who did this? Tiberius was not in the mood for a happy reunion. His eyes were blood red. He was basically shivering in anger. Michael and Heinberg could feel the killing intent radiating from Tiberius. Michael stared at the gladiators one by one. There were 6 gladiators in front of them. All of them were between 6 feet and 6 feet 5 inches tall with muscular bodies. The commonality between all of them was the burn marks and the scars on their bodies. What? Doctress, the gladiators mumbled in shock. Their weapons were raised halfway, looking at Tiberius. Deal with them, I'll take care of the explosives. Michael saw the white clay attached to each pillar. Sensing the heat coming from the clay through his eyes of darkness, he recognized them as the explosives set by Mark. Is Mark here? While walking towards the first pillar a couple of meters in front of Michael, he asked the gladiators. The gladiators couldn't care less about the explosives after seeing Doctress' body. They all knelt beside his body, overwhelmed with grief. Where is he? Tiberius put Doctress' body on the ground, looking around for Mark, yet he couldn't see him. He was with Doctress, do you think? One of the gladiators asked Tiberius. They knew Tiberius well enough to know that Tiberius wouldn't harm his mentor. Hence, they never doubted Tiberius of killing Doctress, but Mark was another story. Despite Mark's effort to get onto Doctress' side replacing Tiberius, most of the gladiators didn't trust him as they trusted Tiberius. Of course, many disliked Tiberius due to his quick temper, arguments he had with Doctress, and cold demeanor, yet they didn't make Tiberius any less trustworthy. He was stabbed in the back. Mark wanted to see the sunrise one last time. We don't know why, but after a few minutes he left. Doctress went looking for him. Tiberius' killing intent skyrocketed hearing the gladiators. It became more and more evident that Doctress was killed by Mark. He only didn't know why Mark killed him. We need to find that son of a bitch. Tiberius took his gaze away from Doctress' face to Michael, who was staring at the clay mold sticking on a pillar. I'll rip that bastard to shreds, he's mine. Fuck blowing up the arena, we need to kill that snake. The gladiators were riled up. They passed the grieving stage to reach the stage where they felt nothing but the pure rage of a gladiator. I have an idea who knows where he is, Michael said. The white clay sticking on the pillar before him seemed nothing special in the naked eyes. At first, Michael thought he would want to ask the system's help to diffuse, but he was wrong. The white clay was a chemical compound, which meant it related to alchemy. Combined with his knowledge of alchemy and inventor traits, he began to sense how the explosives were made of and how to diffuse them. With eyes of darkness help, he could see the inside of the clay. Unlike most of the bombs on Earth, there were neither wires nor circuits in the clay. Inside the white clay was a word separated through the center by a liquid. Either side of the liquid was filled with chemical compounds that would create a reaction when coming to contact with each other. The liquid was the substance that prevented the compounds from getting mixed. The white clay covering the orb absorbed this liquid little by little, hence working as a timer. System, I need a syringe filled with coconut oil, 50 badass points. Do you wish to buy it? Yes, the liquid just needed to be non-reactive to either of the substances in the orb. Compared to the liquid already inside the orb, coconut oil was a much better option. In a flash, 2 syringes appeared in Michael's hand. One was filled with coconut oil whereas the other was empty. Michael gently sent the needle of the syringe filled with coconut oil into the line where the liquid was. He pressed the syringe head as the liquid line began to get filled with oil. After refilling the liquid line, Michael sent the needle of the empty syringe through the clay towards one of the substances before gently squeezing the substance into the empty syringe. It took Michael a couple of seconds to completely remove the substance from the orb. After he took out the chemical compound, there was no substance for the other one to react with. Thus, the explosive was reduced to nothing but slightly hot clay. You're coming with me. Michael pulled out the clay from the pillar before storing it in his space ring. He wanted to study the explosive further to make some changes to it so he could use them in the future instead of buying explosives from the system as he did. I split the chapters into 2 to make them interesting and less draggy. Also, the Southern Continent arc is coming to end with a bang. Chapter 283 Morning arrived as a mother's gentle hand, inviting the dreams of the night to enter the day. The sun painted the horizon with golden light. The songs of the early birds sounded better than any music. It could calm anyone's soul. Waking up to the view of the sun rising on the horizon and the calm sea always soothed Caius' mind. Today was different. Today he was looking at hundreds of nobles gathered around him. Instead of hearing the chirping of the early birds, he heard only the cheers of people who were excited to witness the wedding ceremony of Fabia, the only daughter of Senator Viridius. The arena could simply hold 45,000 people. Because the ceremony was meant for only the richest and the powerful, out of 45,000 seats, only 350 were filled including the senators. Many nobles from the nearby kingdoms attended the ceremony with their relatives. They were more interested in watching gladiators fight to the death rather than Fabia's wedding. On the elevated stage built for the senators, 8 lavish chairs were arranged in the front line while numerous less fancy chairs occupied the space behind the first line. Among the 7 chairs in the front, 6 were for the senators, 1 for the bride and 1 for the groom. The rest of the chairs were for the senators' family members. Caius was the first senator to come as he wanted to seat himself on the chair where Lucifer told him to. If everything went according to the plan, this day would change his life forever. Caius walked towards the 4th chair from the right. Standing in front of the seat, he ran his finger on the top rail until he felt a bump in the cushion covering the rail. Don't worry, Senator, Lord Lucifer, and the Dark Queen will protect you. Maxine entered through the doorway carrying a silver tray with wine cups on top of it. She was assigned as a personal maid so she had to do these chores to make it look real. The worst part of the job was not serving Caius but having to wear the ridiculous maid uniform. At least she got permission for Lord Lucifer to wear a large hat that helped her hide her embarrassment. The others are on their way. So look normal. Caius drew a long breath preparing himself for the big day. As she said, he needed to look normal or the other senators might get suspicious. Although the senators would look friendly to the public, they all hated each other due to the power struggle between them. They wouldn't raise a finger if there isn't a political benefit for them. The mere thought of getting rid of all of the senators made Caius' blood boil in excitement. Following Lucifer seemed a very good move at this moment. Senator Caius was just about to reach his hand out to pick a wine glass from Maxine's tray when he heard a familiar voice calling out his name. Maxine turned her head to see a tall man with long brown hair walking towards them with 2 Spartan soldiers. He was thin as a stick. With his wide grin and bony face, he really looked creepy in her eyes. Senator Quintus Caius smiled, but anyone could tell the smile was fake as a unicorn. Looks like you two has beaten me to it. Maxine saw another man walking behind Quintus. Unlike Quintus, he was rather short and chubby. No Spartan soldiers or relatives could be seen accompanying this man. He came walking alone. Senator Kiso, yet again the 3 senators exchanged fake smiles. Where is that giant of yours, Senator? Quintus asked Caius. He completely ignored Maxine. She could see the contempt in his eyes when he looked at her. Won't he obstruct the view of the wonderful fights? Caius said with a small grin on his face. He certainly will, Senator Kiso said, letting out a short burst of laughter. What did I miss? The 3 senators saw Senator Selleck approaching them with his 2 wives, 3 children, and 2 fully armor-plated soldiers. He was neither too short nor too tall. His golden hair was short just like one of his wives. The second wife was a redhead with a beautiful hourglass structure. The senator and the golden-haired woman seemed like they were in their late 40s, but the red-haired woman looked much younger. One would guess that she was in her late 20s. The three children stayed beside the golden-haired woman. Two of them were young boys in their late teens while the girl seemed a couple of years younger than them. "Look who's here." Senator Aaron. Senator Kiso welcomed the senator's family with a grin. Maxine noticed the genuine smile on Kiso's face. His smile seemed genuine because Senator Aaron's and Kiso were planning to tie the two families with a marriage between Kiso's daughters and Aaron's sons. Just like any other continent in this world, marriages were proposed with ulterior motives. They were kind of deals and cared less about the groom and bride's feelings. Even the Winston family arranged a marriage between Noah and Alicia to strengthen their family. Plus, in this world, a man was allowed to marry as many times as he wants. Hence, most of the cultivators and noblemen had a harem of wives. It was extremely rare to see someone like Michael who hated the idea of having a harem of wives. With his reputation and talent, he could have as many beautiful wives as he wants. In addition to his hate towards the harem, Gaia would murder anyone if one wanted to share him with her. "So I see I'm the only one who brought the family?" Senator Aaron's laughed. The red-haired woman remained expressionless while the others shook hands with the senators before taking their seats. "Where is Senator Viridius?" "He can't be late to his own daughter's wedding." Senator Quintes looked at the doorway expecting Viridius. "Speaking of weddings, where are the bride and groom? And is Senator Marcus coming to the ceremony?" Senator Kiso asked the senators. "I won't be surprised if he didn't show up considering what happened at the gala," Senator Aaron said as the senators except Caius nodded their heads. What Senator Aaron said would have been true if Caius didn't receive any orders from Lucifer. It was Caius' responsibility to bring all the senators to the stage. Senator Caius had to owe Senator Marcus a favor to get him to the marriage. Since these senators wouldn't survive to see the next day, Caius was happy to oblige to Marcus' demands. "What the hell are you waiting for? Move your flabby ass and go bring refreshments for everyone." Senator Quintes raised his voice at Maxine. "Yes, my lord, forgive me." Maxine quickly lowered her head, hiding her anger from showing on her face. She didn't want to disappoint Lord Lucifer because of Quintus' remarks. "Take a seat, gentlemen." Caius gestured at the senators to sit. He didn't budge an inch away from the chair he was supposed to sit on. "Are you all right, Senator Caius?" The golden-haired woman noticed the few sweat drops appearing on Caius' forehead. Caius knew she is more observant than the rest of them. Still, he was surprised by her question. "Why wouldn't I be? It's not like my daughter's wedding." Caius brushed off her question with a joke. "Quickly fix your daughter's marriage, Senator Caius. I have some excellent matches for your daughter." "I bet you do." The woman chuckled as Maxine returned carrying 2 silver trays with several wine glasses on top of them. While she was serving them, everyone in the arena heard a loud rumbling noise. They looked up to see the airship slowly floating towards them in the sky. This wasn't the first time Maxine saw an airship. The design of the ship was very similar to the blimps on Earth. Instead of helium, the scholars used odril gas. It was produced by heating odril ore in extreme heat. The blimp cast a huge shadow on the arena as it was almost 150 feet long, 60 feet high, and 50 feet wide. Despite its enormous size, the blimp could only hold 20 people including 2 pilots and 3 crew members. However, there were airships in the southern continent that could hold more people and fit with weapons for air combat. "Senator Viridius is really showing off," Senator Kiso snickered. The blimp continued to move at a snail pace before coming to a halt at the top of the arena. Ding, ding, ding. Right at this moment, loud bell sounds could be heard. Realizing the wedding ceremony had begun, the nobles became silent. On the fighting ground, a woman wearing a red dress walked towards the center. Her dress was extremely revealing. Everyone could see her plump rosy thighs as well as her navel and cleavage. The fighting ground wasn't paved with stone but filled with sand, so the gladiators also had to fight the scorching hot sand on their feet. The woman, however, wore a heel to prevent the hot sand from hurting her feet. She fiddled with her brown hair while waving her hand at the nobles around her. Her smooth silky skin, oval face, and hourglass structure made the youngsters stare at her without taking their eyes away. She certainly enjoyed this attention. That was why she chose to host gladiator fights despite the blood and gore the fights accompanied. "Let's give a loud applause for the bride and our Senator of Defense, Senator Viridius." The nobles cheered, clapping as loud as they could. Soon, the senators sitting on the stage turned their heads back to see Senator Viridius walking towards them with his daughter by his side. Several Spartan soldiers walked behind them as protection, yet all the senators' focus was on the beautiful bride. Her white dress sparkled with gems and gold dust, making the bride look like an angel. "Lord Lucifer, everyone's here." Behind the Spartan soldiers, Maxine noticed a tan-skinned man with no hair on his head walking towards them. He was the last senator they were looking for, Senator Marcus. With his arrival, the first phase of Lucifer's plan was over successfully. Lord Lucifer, they are all here. Chapter 284. Senator Viridius led his daughter to their chairs, which were located right next to Caius. In the power hierarchy of senators, Caius stood at the top with his head of Senate position, while Viridius stood only next to him with his position of Senator of Defense. They both held two of the most important ministries of a kingdom, finance and military. The voting for electing senators was one of the important events in any Senate-ruled kingdom. Only noblemen had the right to vote. The number of senators in a kingdom varied from kingdom to kingdom. In Giselle there were 6 senators. Hence, in Giselle, the first 6 candidates with the most votes would become senators. Among them who got the most votes would become the head. The head of the Senate had the power to choose a ministry for himself and assign ministries for the other senators. Caius chose the finance ministry because compared to the rest of the ministries, he could swindle more money in the finance ministry. Defense ministry was the most stressful and problematic one, therefore he assigned it to his potential head of Senate candidate, Viridius. Over the years, Caius saw how Viridius is becoming older and older. He rejoiced inside because if Viridius were to die, there wouldn't be any competition for the head position in the future. Pity, Caius said to himself looking at Fabia in her wedding dress. He felt bad for the girl to die on the most important day of her life, her wedding. First of all, let's congratulate Miss Fabia, who is about to become Lady Fabia Hirius. The girl on the ground had a metal cube on her palm that amplified her voice loud enough to reach everyone in the arena. The nobles whistled and clapped as Fabia kept waving her hand at them. Fabia, Viridius gestured at Fabia to seat herself before sitting beside Caius. While everyone's focus was on the bride and Viridius, Marcus took his seat without causing a ruckus. He sat on the last chair from the right beside Senator Quintes. I don't see the groom, Senator Viridius. Caius leaned towards Viridius. He's taking care of something for me. He'll be here soon, Viridius whispered. Viridius placed a trio of elite killers among Hirius' security detail to kill him and the other Spartans. Since Hirius didn't make it to the wedding or his spies didn't see Hirius coming out of the barracks, he thought the trio managed to do their job. What both Viridius and Caius didn't know was Michael and Gaia killed all of the security detail, including the 3 killers placed by Viridius, and kidnapped Hirius. The trio might be the best killers gold coins could buy, yet in front of Michael and Gaia, they were as weak as babies. At that time, Gaia didn't even notice there were 3 elite killers among them. He better be, it's his wedding after all. Caius was concerned about Hirius. He didn't want Hirius to escape and use what's about to happen as a trump card in his campaign if Hirius chose to run for Senate. Settle down, my lords, my ladies. It's time to kickstart the celebration. Hoo-hoo. Yeah. Release the beasts. Fight, fight, fight. The nobles began to scream in excitement. Even the noble ladies stood up from their seats. The thrill of seeing gladiators fighting to death made their blood boil. The nobles became addicted to gladiator fights. It was their only entertainment. The nobles' lust for blood made them invest a large sum of their wealth in luduses. Even the small ludus had 20 highly trained gladiators. This was one of the reasons why slavery flourished in the southern continent. The nobles encouraged the Senate to go to war with nearby kingdoms so the loser citizens would become slaves. From these slaves, strong males could be purchased to become gladiators by various luduses. Almost all the nobles and the rich would attend the yearly gala where they would bid for slaves who had the qualities to become a gladiator. The girl on the ground grinned happily hearing their chant. She then stared at her left and right side. Both sides had 8 feet iron gates. There were totally 6 iron gates around the fighting ground. During big tournaments where 6 gladiators fight to the death, each ludus would send 1 gladiator through 1 gate. They wanted the gladiators to meet each other only on the fighting ground. As seconds passed by, the wind became hotter and hotter above the sand. The wind also revealed the skeletons of various animals such as bison, giant lizards, and lions buried halfway in the sand. One could even see human remains in the sand. The remains served as ornaments for the fighting ground. Some nobles even paid a hefty sum for the dead bodies of gladiators. They preserved various parts of the body, keeping them on a display. We have 2 proud luduses today with us to light up the ceremony. Give your warm welcome for Ludus Tullus Bantius Fuscus of Utopia and Ludus Drusus Vesuvius Arbutus of Litera. The moment the girl announced the names, the whole crowd went wild. They were 2 of the most prominent luduses in the entire continent. Whoa, did I hear her right? Ludus Tullus and Ludus Drusus? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Please let me see Lion Head. Now I see why the ticket was priced this much. This is gonna be awesome. Are they taking bets? Do you think Ludus Tools will let out the Lionhead to fight today? Let's hope they will. The onlookers began to chit-chat amongst themselves. The girl uttered no words, letting the hype build up before revealing the fighters. Even from where she was standing, she could hear the nobles dying to see Lionhead, one of the most decorated gladiators on the continent. Senator Viridius, you really went all in with the ceremony, huh? Senator Aarons looked very surprised. Without his control, he had a large grin plastered across his face. To say the least, Senator Aarons was excited to see the gladiators who belonged to the most prominent Luduses fight to the death for their entertainment. Fabia, the bride, could barely hold her excitement. To her, the gladiators were an excellent specimen for experiments. After her failures with Titus and Optimus, she was looking for new specimens. If her father's plan went without a hitch, she would have some of the best gladiators to play with in her lab. Don't get too excited, Senator. This is just a glimpse of what I've in store for you today, Viridius smirked. We cannot wait to see. Senator Quintes laughed without having a clue about Viridius' real intention. While the senators were staring at the women on the ground to announce the fighters' names, Viridius retrieved the pocket watch from his toga pocket to check the time. Maxine noticed Viridius checking the time. She knew he was checking the time to leave the stage when it's time for the explosion. As he was looking forward to the explosion, there would be one, just not at the time he was expecting. I won't take any more of your time, my lords, my ladies. Let's open the gates for Sextus, the eye gouger from Ludus Tools. The east side iron gate slowly opened as all the eyes fell on the gateway to see the gladiator striding through the gateway. The gladiator wore nothing but leather boxers with metal bracers and leather boots. He stood 6 feet 4 inches tall. Except for the abs, he had clear muscle definition everywhere else. The half-skull he wore as a hat on his head freaked out some of the people. As he was striding towards the center, he kept licking his bronze mace. The sweet scent of woman's flesh, taking his tongue off of his mace, Sextus licked his own lips staring at the announcer girl. She tried her hardest not to show the discomfort on her face. And from Ludus Drusus, I welcome Lars, the lightning whip. The west side gate slowly creaked open, getting all the attention. Crack, crack, crack. Gradually they all saw a tall figure walking through the gateway, making cracking sounds along the way. Lars was not as muscular as Sextus, he had a lean body. Instead of a sword or any typical weapon made of metal, he had a long barbed whip in his hand. Hence the nickname Lightning Whip. As he was walking towards the center, he kept attacking the ground with his whip. Each time he swung his whip, it produced a high-pitched cracking noise. I thought there'll be more audience, Lars said disappointedly looking around the nobles. It's good for you. Because less crowd means less embarrassment for you when I gouge out those pretty eyes of yours, Sextus taunted Lars. He raised his voice loud enough for the metal box on the girl's palm to amplify his voice. The nobles became excited hearing Sextus. The more blood and gore, the better for the nobles. Fight! 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 The nobles began to chant again as the announcer girl took a step back before the two gladiators started to fight. I won't take any more of your time, gentlemen. The battle will begin after the bell sound. It took the girl a couple of minutes to reach the end of the fighting ground. Reaching the end, she opened up the wooden door that revealed stairs to the upper levels where she could see the fight from an elevated position. The two gladiators didn't dare to start fighting before the bell sound. It was prohibited. In the best-case scenario, they would be starved for a week, and in the worst case, they would receive a minimum of 200 whip attacks, starvation for at least 2 weeks, and battle beasts. 4 gladiators like them, fighting the beasts with starving stomachs was equal to a death sentence. Therefore, they patiently waited for the bell to ring. Human, are you ready to blow this thing up? At that moment, Gaia was watching the two gladiators from the sky. She wore a white dress to blend in with the clouds in case someone looked at the sky. When you're ready, an evil grin emerged on her face after hearing Michael. Chapter 285. Lars and Sextus were standing on the fighting ground center with a few meters distance between them. The nobles could feel the hot air radiating from the sand in the fighting ground. Coupled with their excitement, they began to sweat more than the gladiators themselves. Ding, ding, ding. Finally, the 3 bell sounds reverberated the arena. The moment the bell sound appeared, the nobles screamed as loud as they could. Crack. Lars immediately whipped his whip at Sextus before leaping back. The whip was effective in long-ranged combat, hence Lars leaped back to create a distance between them. Sextus barely dodged the barbed whip, it scraped the skin off of his shoulder. Getting his skin peeled off was extremely painful, yet Sextus didn't let the pain slow down his movements. The blood splattered on the hot sand, producing a faint shhh sound. Lars kept whipping the barbed whip at Sextus, trying to stop Sextus from getting close. Just like his nickname, Lars' whip was lightning speed. Arg, Sextus screamed, not in agony but in anger. The agility of Lars and his quickness of attacking him made Sextus madder and madder. From the battle started, Lars had the upper hand. He was agile, quick, and kept attacking Sextus with deadly accuracy. The nobles were on the edge of their seats. Whoa, Lars is really good. No shit, look at Sextus. All messed up. Why is it that brute not getting close? He's trying, but that scrawny one is not letting him. I never thought a whip could be this effective and dangerous. The onlookers had different opinions about the fight. Most of them, however, favored Lars. They were right, as even Gaia, who's hovering in the sky, favored Lars to win the fight if the two gladiators continued to fight. Every one of them could see Sextus slowing down due to the wounds he suffered. Kill. 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 A group of noble youngsters began to chant. One could see the bloodlust on their faces. Their chant riled up Lars as he began to attack Sextus more violently and frantically. The cracking sound of the whip became louder and louder. Sextus' body was painted with his own blood. His flesh and blood splattered across the hot sand. Since he blocked the whip with his hands, they suffered the most. One could even see the vague outline of the bloodied bone in his hand as the barbed whip peeled off the skin from his hands. Arg! Sextus screamed once again, but instead of dodging or blocking the whip, he let the barbed whip wrap around his rib cage. Lars was stunned to see Sextus from his guard. Soon he realized why he did that as Sextus grabbed the barbed whip tightly. The barbs on the whip penetrated Sextus' palm as blood oozed out of his hand. Nonetheless, Sextus didn't let go of the whip. He held on to it as tight as he could. Shit, Lars tried to pull the whip away from Sextus, yet he simply couldn't. Everyone misjudged Sextus' ability to endure pain. Just when they thought Sextus couldn't win against Lars, he used his wit to overcome Lars' agility. Inch by inch, Sextus moved towards Lars while holding onto the whip. He gritted his teeth in pain as his eyes turned bloodshot. Even his brown skin became paler due to the blood loss. How is he doing that? This is awesome. Look at all that blood. Lars is doomed. The nobles loved the blood and gore, unlike Gaia or Maxine. Gaia had no love for the human race, yet she hated seeing two humans fight to the death for the sake of the nobles' entertainment. In the other continents, cultivators often held competitions like this. However, those cultivators didn't fight for others' entertainment. Rather, they fought for rare resources, treasures, and gold coins. Plus, almost all those competitions had the option of surrendering. If one decided to surrender, there were no consequences except they would not get the said prize. Human, are you sure we can't blow these assholes to hell? Gaia creased her brows in disgust, looking at the nobles. Enough playing around, I'm out and Maxine is ready. Blow them up, she heard Michael's voice in her head. Meanwhile, Sextus had successfully come closer to Lars. He was just a meter away from Lars, who began to slightly shiver in fear. Pretty eyes, despite the pain, Sextus licked his lips with an evil grin on his face. His blood-covered teeth made his grin even eviler. Fuck dash, Lars cursed, realizing he would die a horrible death if he kept holding onto the whip. Therefore he tried to let go. Where are you going? Sextus quickly grabbed Lars by his neck before Lars could step away from him. Kill. 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 Yet again nobles began to shout. This time it was Sextus who riled up because of the shout. Sextus let go of the whip before grabbing Lars by his neck using both of his bloodied hands. Let go. Lars wiggled frantically to escape Sextus' hold. Soon, Lars felt his feet getting higher and higher from the ground. Lifting Lars by his neck, Sextus quickly moved forward to lick Lars' cheek. He took his time licking Lars' face. Many noble women frowned, as it was pretty disgusting to see Sextus licking Lars' face. Nonetheless, many nobles enjoyed this kind of freaky stuff. Who wants to see some eyes? Sextus shouted loudly. His voice reverberated the arena. Kill. 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 This time, almost all the nobles except the senators stood up from their seats in excitement. They threw their hands up, screaming at Sextus. Boom. Just when Sextus was about to gouge Lars' eyes out, the elevated stage where the senators were enjoying the fight exploded, producing an ear-piercing loud booming sound. A small mushroom cloud of fire appeared above the stage where they were sitting. The blast wave was so powerful that it even knocked down Lars and Sextus. The arena shook as pieces of marble stones crumbled down from the arena's walls. To the sound of the explosion came the terrible echo, as if it were the anguished cry of God. Oh my God. Few nobles were quick to react as they began to scream. Wait. Immediately someone activated the fire alarm that produced loud crying noises. Gladiators, Spartans as well as legionary soldiers came rushing through the gates and doorways to save the senators. In addition to fire that burned with red-hot flames, the dust cloud enveloped the nearby area of the stage. It prevented the nobles from seeing what's happening inside the flames. Inside the bomb site, Caius was lying on the ground sideways. His vision blurred while he could not hear anything but a high-pitched whistling sound. He could vaguely see a few figures lying in front of him. He couldn't make out the identities. In addition to the smoke and flame, he could see pieces of flesh and bones. Feeling the dizziness overcoming his senses, he tried not to close his eyes. Caius felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. He let out a sharp cry. In a few seconds, his brain realized the sensation of a hand on his shoulder. He tried to turn his head, yet the injuries prevented him from doing so. "Take him to the doorway and make sure they find him first." Caius could barely hear the words. "Swallow this." The next second, Caius felt a figure pushing a pill into his mouth. Although his vision was blurred, he could see the face of Maxine. The moment the pill touched his tongue, he felt a cool sensation all over his body. The pain started to become less while his vision slowly cleared up. Gaia stood among the wreckage searching for any survivors except Caius. After she had given the healing pill, Maxine dragged Caius towards the doorway. The two of them made sure the doorway was clear so the Spartans could find Caius quickly. Although the smoke hindered her eyesight, she could see no bodies moving. The explosion was more powerful than she initially expected. There were no intact dead bodies as she saw several limbs and body chunks lying around. At first, she thought she would feel pity for these people, but after seeing how they enjoyed the gladiator fight, she felt nothing. Save the senators. Move, move, move. While she was looking around for survivors, although it was highly unlikely someone would have survived the blast, she heard people rushing towards the wreckage. Dark Queen, it's done. Maxine came to her side. Despite the bruises and cuts made by the wooden splinters on her face, Maxine grinned. Her face was bright like she had completed something important. Is there any chance of Viridius to survive the explosion? Gaia heard Michael's voice sound in her head. She looked around before locking her gaze on a charcoal body that had no legs attached. Nope, shame. Now get out of there before anyone sees you too. Wait for me in the Reaper. With a final look around the wreckage, Gaia put her hand on Maxina's shoulder. Using the smoke as a cover, she took off from the ground in lightning fast before disappearing into the clouds. Chapter 286. Onshore breezes climbed the mountain slopes until the air became cool enough to condense its vapor to rain. A lone banyan tree stood atop the mountain, casting its dark shadows on the muddy ground. The rain reacted with the earth, creating the scent of ground. Under the banyan tree stood several figures. One of those figures was Michael. The city of Krilta could be seen in the distance. His eyes were fixed on the smoke reaching the sky from the arena. "It's done," Michael said, turning back to see the fresh grave of Doctorus. The gladiators gather around the grave with their heads lowered. They paid their last respect to Doctorus in silence. Michael walked to the grave, kneeling on one knee in front of the grave. Regardless that he knew nothing about the man, he respected him because he deserved it. He started this rebellion against the nobles, he fought for freedom and died a free man. Michael paid his respect by grabbing a handful of soil and pouring it again onto the grave. It was a gesture of respect, also a sign of forgiveness for what he was about to do. The gladiators, including Tiberius, stared at him as Michael stood up. They all noticed the smoke, except they were not in the mood to rejoice. The loss of Doctorus was too overwhelming for them. They were ready to sacrifice themselves, yet they never imagined Doctorus would be murdered by one of them. "You know why he left you at the camp instead of taking you with us?" one of the gladiators asked. The sound of thunder rumbling, as well as the flashes of lightning, accompanied them along with Tiberius' silence. "He wanted you to lead the rebellion after him," the gladiator finished his thought. Tiberius just let out a hollow laugh. "Crazy bastard. Always managed to find things that I cannot agree with." Tiberius took his gaze away from the grave to the dark cloud-filled sky. He closed his eyes, letting rain droplets wash over his face. "I'm no leader. I never was and never will be. What we need is a leader who could do the impossible." Tiberius gave a long and hard thought about this. Although he only knew Lucifer for a short amount of time, he saw what Lucifer is capable of. For instance, he just killed every senator except one with no casualties on his side, where Doctor's plan included them getting blown to pieces with the senators. "You know, before I met you, I met Doctorus." Tiberius' brows arched up while the four gladiators looked at him bewildered. "I made the same offer as I did to you. Follow me and I'll help you cleanse this continent." He was a warrior to the core, there was no fear in his eyes, the gladiators couldn't help smiling. He said, looking into my eyes, he would rather die a free man than become a slave once again. Sounds like him. Tiberius smiled. The fact Lucifer went to Doctress before coming to him didn't surprise him the least. If he was in Lucifer's shoes, he would have done the same. After all, Doctress was a far better warrior and a man than him. I respected his wish, but it's a pity that he put his trust in the wrong man. Now it's time for you four to make the choice for yourselves and the entire rebellion. Before they could give it a thought, Michael activated the runic teleportation to teleport back to his ship. The sudden flash of light made the gladiators close their eyes. When they opened them, they were standing on a ship. There was nothing but the ocean surrounding them. In the distance, they could see the familiar docks where they initially landed with Doctress. What just dash, you whack? You whack. Since this was their first teleportation experience, they immediately felt everything inside their stomach making a return trip towards their mouth. They rushed towards the ship's edge to throw up in the ocean. Tiberius tried to fight the vomiting sensation, yet after a few seconds, he too ran towards the edge. Michael or the crew members were nowhere to be found on the upper deck. He wanted the gladiators to discuss in private. A few minutes passed by before they finally moved their heads away from the ocean. Including Tiberius, they drew a few deep breaths. How did he dash? No idea, Tiberius answered before even the gladiator could finish his question. But that's another reason we should follow him, Tiberius said, looking at the four of them. They seemed reluctant. While they were staring at Tiberius to continue, he retrieved a small pouch and a parchment from the side pocket of his black breeches. Tiberius tossed the parchment at one gladiator while the pouch at another gladiator. Most of the gladiators were soldiers before becoming a gladiator, so they had basic training in reading and writing. The gladiator who opened the pouch raised his brows as his mouth opened wide. Is this for real? The same startled expression could be seen on the gladiator's face who just read the parchment. It is, and what's in the pouch is only 10% of what he's paying me. The gladiators were dumbstruck because they could tell that there were at least 100 gold coins in the pouch. Even a Spartan soldier wouldn't receive 100 gold coins per month, let alone a gladiator. Also, it wasn't 100 gold coins but 1,000 gold coins per month according to Tiberius. They certainly couldn't believe him. I know it's hard to believe, but this is real. Fuck that money for a moment. I'm not asking you to trust him, I'm asking you to trust me. He don't fucking need us. If we want to avenge Doctress and make his dream come true, we need him. Tiberius paused for a moment before continuing. Look, you saw what he's capable of. He just killed the senators of Gisel without a single casualty while you dumbasses went on with a suicide plan. The gladiators had a mix of emotions emerging on their faces. They were shocked to hear that Lucifer killed the senators without a loss while feeling slightly ashamed of their suicide plan. Don't make the same mistake Doctress made. We need him. He's gonna change this place with or without us. I've already made my decision to follow him, it's time you made yours. They'll give you 10 minutes to decide, as he said. He turned back to walk towards the captain's cabin where Tiberius hoped to meet Michael. After taking a few steps, he stopped. And keep the gold for old time's sake. Michael was currently sitting on his throne behind the oak table as Gaia rested on the sofa comfortably. On the table, the map of the southern continent could be seen. A jade dagger was striking into the map where Gisel is located. The dagger was an indicator that Gisel is in his control. Behind the skull mask he was smiling. He left a spider with the gladiators. Through the spider, he could hear everything they were talking from his throne. Recruiting Tiberius proved to be a good move, as what he said to the gladiators made them change their minds. Of course they wouldn't completely trust him. It was expected of them. He didn't want them to trust him, he wanted them to trust Tiberius. Thank you, Doctress. He thanked Doctress in his mind for giving him an army. Everything he told the gladiators about him meeting Doctress and offering him a deal was nothing but lies. He had neither met nor talked with Doctress. He just used Doctress' death to his advantage. His lies put a seed of doubt in the gladiators' minds. They would have certainly wondered whether Doctress would be alive if he decided to follow Lucifer. Because of his lies, it was highly likely that the gladiators would choose to follow him, wanting to avoid the mistake of Doctress. Knock, knock. Come. The door opened after Michael's word. Tiberius entered the cabin door. What have they decided? Like he heard nothing, Michael asked Tiberius. Unless they have shit for the brain, they will agree to follow you. Good. Maxine will arrange passage for your people to reach Gisel from the Grey Mountains safely. At the time they reach Gisel, Caius would have announced that he's abolishing slavery in Gisel. If you want, you can wait till he announces it and bring your people in small groups. Tiberius was speechless. The rebels had to pay in blood to keep the nobles at bay and run the rebellion, yet in a couple of days, Lucifer managed to do what they couldn't do for 3 years. He knew Lucifer's plan, even so seeing it getting executed without a problem stunned him completely. He only wished Doctress should have been here to see the rebellion finally moving forward towards the goal. Can we really trust Caius? He's noble to the core, what if he changes his mind? Well, kill him, Gaia waved him off casually. I made sure he doesn't do such a thing. You focus on getting your people settled on. Caius will give you a piece of land and resources to build a village. After he reforms the Senate to my liking, the village will receive further support to become much more. I gave them the freedom they were fighting for. From now on, their fate is in their hand. With conquering Gisel, he finished everything he intended to in the southern continent for the time being. He knew the Hydra would become a godlike existence in the future beside Nightmare. In addition to the gladiator army, he had an undead army waiting for him outside the pyramid, his second base of operation. The whole undead island had become his domain. Soon after Caius forms a new senate, he would get a small fortune of gold coins regularly as another revenue for his future wars. It's time to go home, Michael said to himself. Chapter 287, What should I wear? Michael was rummaging through the system store to find new clothes to wear. Currently he was wearing his Lucifer armor. When he returns to Elon, he knew he should wear new clothes instead of the usual Blade or Neo costume. How could a badass wear the same clothes every day? Instead of choosing a movie costume, Michael wanted to wear something suitable to this world, medieval-style clothing. With his buffed body, no matter what he wore, it would make him extremely good-looking. Plus, unlike before, he now sported a stubble beard to further his handsomeness. Before he departed to Elon, he only needed to cut his hair short as his raven black hair had grown past the shoulder length. In front of his eyes, there were varieties of clothes such as tunics, shirts, braids, metal chains, long coats and long sleeves. Show me all the long coats, only black ones, right? Of course, the system filtered the long coats using Michael's parameters. Soon, numerous black coats appeared before him. There were regular trench coats with fur collars, double-breasted trench coats, and a few other variations of long coats. After a few minutes of pondering, he ended up picking a black trench coat with no fur collars. The coat almost reached his feet. It had a mix of medieval and modern vibe to it. Do you want shirts and trousers to go along with the coat? Shit, I sound like a salesgirl in a clothing store, the system murmured as Michael chuckled. Nah, give me a turtleneck, trousers and suede boots. Make them all black. Aren't you forgetting something? The dual sword sheath. Let me first get 2 new swords to my liking. Michael's 2 swords were degraded, losing most of their sharpness. Because Michael knew nothing about Jack's death, he was still planning to make Jack a blacksmith and forge 2 new swords. Everything will cost you 6,000 badass points. Do you wish to buy them all and store them in the system storage? Ill them all. Do you wish to buy the same set of clothing for Gaia? It'll cost you additional 1,000 badass points to remodel the clothing to fit her. She already has enough doubts. Getting new clothes out of nowhere is an unnecessary risk. For now, he'll take her to the best clothing store in Elon. After everything they went through, Michael wanted to take a long break to clear his mind. Going on a date with her seemed like a good idea to him. He worried less about the championship tournaments because he was extremely confident in his ability to win the tournament. Although he was at the core formation level 5, the first energy he absorbed from the Hydra egg upgraded his skills to the point his real strength reached level 9 of the core formation stage. To this moment he was in the dark regarding the kills of Nightmare. It was because he was inside the void line when Nightmare killed all the bandits that he never received experience points. In addition to Nightmare, he also never received the experience of Arius kills. Eventually Michael exited the system. He was still sitting on his throne. He was not alone. In front of him stood Gibson, Maxine, Tiberius, Heinberg, and Gaia remained by his side. I have tasks for each of you to finish while we're away, as he said. He turned his gaze towards Gibson. You said the seas out here are plagued with rogue pirates. I want you to hunt them down, offer them the choice to join our ranks. If they refused, kill them all but try not to damage their ship too much. His plan was to become a pirate lord. To become one ship was not enough. He needed a fleet of ships. Rather than building or buying new ships and crews for a new fleet, he planned to make the rogue pirates join his ranks by force. Use this to repair the Reaper and resupply the cannons. Michael pointed at the small chest on the corner of the table. It contained a chunk of wealth he obtained from Lar's ship when he first reached the southern continent. As you wish, Lord Lucifer. Gibson showed no hesitation in his face. The Silent Reaper was a legendary ship that overpowers most of the pirate ships in a one-on-one battle. To give a fair fight to the Reaper, it would take several man-o' wars or the pirate lord ships. Next, Michael looked at Maxine. Travel to the Grey Mountains with Tiberius. Make sure his people reach Gisel safely. Consider it done, Lord Lucifer. She bowed her head as Michael turned his gaze at Heinberg. Gaia just brought Heinberg from Gisel with the help of a teleportation scroll. His previous task was to monitor Caius while he was in the infirmary getting treated for the wounds he suffered in the explosion. It was highly likely that the nearby kingdom might try to use the Gisel's temporary crisis to their own advantage by sending assassins after Caius. I need you to conduct a background check on everyone in Caius' list for the Senate. Put a file on every single one. After that, find the gladiator named Mark. The mere mention of the name Mark made Tiberius' veins pop out in fury. He didn't need any proof to know that it was Mark who killed Doctorus. Initially, he wanted to hunt down Mark himself, but he was talked out of the plan by Lucifer. He needed to be at the Grey Mountains more than on the hunt to Mark. As you wish, Lord Lucifer. Michael felt proud looking at his subordinates. When he first came to this world, he had nothing. Almost a year later, he managed to put a strong foundation to dominate this entire world in the future. He could imagine the people in this room becoming his generals, powerful generals. His enemies would have to face them before even coming to meet Gaia and him. They would be like the top-level bosses. And put these in your ear. Michael flicked his wrist as tiny earbuds appeared on the table. The earbuds slowly began to float towards each of them except Heinberg, as he already had an earbud to communicate with Gaia and Michael. Always keep them in your ear. Who knows, one day it might save your lives. Gaia snickers evilly to mess with them. All of them knew she has a weird sense of humor. You can all go. Eventually, after everyone left the room, only Gaia, Michael and Hydra remained in the room. He stood in front of a mirror with a hair clipper that was powered by arch energy. He spent almost an hour in front of the mirror, cutting his hair to perfection. This was the first time he cut his hair since he came to this world. "Oh, I like your long hair," she pouted while sitting on the sofa. The Hydra was still asleep after a hearty meal. Currently, 2 tiny wings were sticking out of its back. The wings indicated that the Hydra would be able to fly in the future. He couldn't help wondering how big the Hydra would grow. "I like changing my looks often. Don't you want to try new looks?" While clipping his long hair, he asked her. Perfection doesn't need alteration. There was an immense amount of pride could be seen on her face. He knew she was right. She was perfect in every way. Among all the women he saw, only Layla could match Gaia in terms of beauty. Thinking about Layla, he wondered what she's doing. He wished not to see her again in his life, even though he knew the odds for that are low. "What about your mouth? It's far from being perfect." Michael teased her, expecting her to get mad. Making her mad was one of his hobbies. "Fuck yourself, human." She was used to getting teased by Michael. Her lack of anger made teasing a bit dull. In a few minutes, he shortened his hair and shaped his beard to perfection. "How am I looking?" Michael asked. She stared at him from top to bottom before leaving the sofa to come to him. She put the Hydra on the table. To Michael's surprise, she locked her lips with his while running her fingers through Michael's hair. They savored each other's lips for several minutes before parting from each other. "Shall we go home?" she asked, licking her lips with an alluring smile on her face. "Yes, we shall." The both of them yet again put the masks on to hide their faces. After she gently took the Hydra from the table, Michael closed his eyes, willing the system to activate the runic teleportation. The warm feeling of teleportation rays enveloped them. Either of them couldn't wait to return to the sect. After 4 months, Michael could open the restaurant. He hoped the winter had passed. More than everything, Michael wanted to unlock the demon soul from the stone. Before departing to the southern continent, the system said that the stone needs at least 2 months to stabilize before opening it. It had been 2 months since he came to the southern continent, hence Michael knew it's time to let out the demon and take another powerful subordinate. After several seconds, Michael opened his eyes to see the familiar dark walls, sofa and large bed. Finally he had returned to the Abyssal. Chapter 288. His room in the Abyssal looked the same as left it before going to the southern continent. He could feel the arch energy in the surrounding air. Compared to the air in the southern continent, the air here felt thicker and clean. If he hadn't gone to the southern continent, he wouldn't have felt the difference. "Oh baby, I missed you so much." Gaia leaped onto the bed. She landed back first on the bed while keeping the Hydra closer to her chest. Her ample chest cushioned the force produced by the bed's spring from hurting the tiny Hydra. Aha! Each head of the Hydra opened its eyes, yawning. It only took the Hydra a couple of seconds to feel the change in the surroundings. "Where are we?" The white head and the silver head curiously looked around the room. The black head, however, closed its eyes to sense the arch energy in the air. Just as they were scanning their surroundings, the Hydra began to glow from within. On the left side of the Hydra was white, the middle was silver while the right side was black to match the colors of the three heads. At that moment all of its body gradually turned golden. The fuck is happening to them? Gaia quickly sat up from the bed when she saw the Hydra glowing. She swooped the Hydra into her hand to feel its body getting warmer and warmer. They are reaching the foundation stage. Michael could see the arch-energy fluctuations around the Hydra. The ripple of energy was violent, meaning that the Hydra would soon reach the foundation stage from its current stage. No, they aren't. Gaia frowned because she couldn't see any energy fluctuations around the Hydra. Can't you see the energy fluctuations around them? Michael walked towards the bed. He then sat beside Gaia looking at the Hydra. I see no shit. She looked closer yet saw nothing. Usually one could see the arch-energy fluctuations around them. That was how they sensed someone's cultivation level. When the grown Hydra screamed, it messed up the arch-energy radiation all over the world. Because of that, one no longer had the ability to sense another's cultivation level. Weird, come with me. Michael stroked his chin. He began to doubt whether it's because of the demon soul in the pocket dimension attached to his room. Before departing to the southern continent, he placed the demon stone in the pocket dimension. Therefore he stood up walking towards it. All the three heads had their eyes closed. She gently picked up the Hydra in her hand as she followed Michael behind. Reaching the black door, Michael placed his hand. He felt his hand slightly getting warmer. With a clicking noise, the door slowly opened to reveal the inside. He still had a hard time believing the scenery before him was another dimension. The beautiful water wall flowed from the miniature hill's top, forming a small lake that glistened in the sunlight peeking through the mountain cracks. Above the small pond, the demon stone was hovering. The closer he walked towards it, the louder he heard the humming sound coming from the stone. The demon stone has stabilized. You can release the soul within the stone. Because of the eyes of darkness, he could see the overwhelming energy around the stone. It wasn't just arch-energy, the stone was radiating celestial and first energy. Can you see the energy fluctuations around the stone? No, she shook her head. Thinking why she couldn't see the energy around the stone, he moved closer to the stone. He reached his hand out at the stone standing on the lake's edge. The chilling water washed over his feet as the stone slowly hovered towards him. Careful, she clenched his arm tightly for a moment. Stay behind me, Michael asked. Finally she let go of his hand. While the stone was hovering just an arm's reach away from him, she moved behind him. Time for another subordinate. Michael was excited to release the demon soul. With a flick of his wrist, he willed the stone to move closer. An invisible force kept pushing Michael's hand away, yet it couldn't stop him completely. Gritting his teeth, Michael used all of his strength to break this invisible barrier. His arm muscles flexed up while a web of veins emerged to upper skin. With a final push, Michael grabbed the stone. The moment he touched the stone, it produced a sound like pouring water onto a hot pan. His mind went blank completely as in a few seconds, he was floating in an empty space. As far as his eyes could see, there was nothing. It was just a red empty space. System, he called out the system, hoping to get some answers from it. However, before he could hear the system, a bright light appeared in front of him out of nowhere. The bright light began to rotate faster and faster. In a few seconds, it grew brighter to the point Michael tried to close his eyes. The light was bright as a small sun. The demon soul has been released. You have to pay the system 40,000 badass points to subdue and make the demon your subordinate. At first, whenever the system named a high price, he would become mad or at least annoyed. However, he learned that the higher the system's price for something, the more valuable and powerful it would be. The sheer amount of 40,000 badass points made his blood boil. Despite his blood-boiling excitement, he had a question in his mind. Didn't I pay you 15,000 badass points to bring back the demon to life? Just as he said, he paid the system 15,000 badass points at the annual auction when he first bought the stone. He wondered why the system suddenly asked for another 40,000 badass points. 15,000 badass points to bring the demon soul back to life from a long slumber. This 40,000 badass points for making the demon 100% loyal to you. Try to imagine what would happen if you wake a demon that's not loyal to you. Also, what now? When he heard the system drag its voice, he realized it's gonna ask for more badass points. He sighed inside. Currently, he had 70,000 badass points to spend. Initially, he planned to buy some new legendary level spells or upgrade the existing ones before the tournament. Now it seemed like he just had to go without any new spells. If you throw me another 6,000 points, the system can shape the demon soul to your liking. Of course, the demon will be in its ethereal form. To make the demon take a physical form, You need to either upgrade the system and buy a body for the demon or find a suitable host in this world. Ethereal for Ha. Will it affect the demon's power? Although Michael didn't have any idea about a demon or its powers, he first needed to make sure whether the ethereal form affects the demon in any way before spending 46,000 points. It doesn't affect the demon's power until it reaches the soul refining stage. After the soul refining stage, if you don't give the demon a physical body, its cultivation progress will stop. Also, the demon will be several times powerful when it's in a physical form. Don't tell me the demon will be at the arch sensing stage after I spend 46,000 points? Explain how the demon levels up. Also, I have another question. Since the Hydra and the demon are extraterrestrial species, why are they using this world's cultivation level and energy native to this world instead of harnessing other more powerful energies? As I recall, you said the arch energy is the least powerful energy in the universe. No, the demon will be at core formation level because the demon has lost its power with time, ending up at core formation level. The answer to your next question is survival. To survive in this world, no matter the origin of the species, they need to adapt to this world. Hence, their souls will use what's abundant in this world, that is arch energy. The higher they go in the cultivation ladder, their souls and bodies could harness more powerful energies. How long the demon soul is in the slumber state? The system level is currently too low to give you an exact time. Just low-ball it, at least for 2 million years. Michael was stunned beyond words. Even after losing its power gradually for 2 million years, the demon would be woken at the core formation stage. He couldn't even imagine how powerful it was before entering the slumber state. Alright, take the 46,000 points. I have something special in mind for my demon. Just imagine how the demon should look like and the system will take care of the rest. In a blink of an eye, the badass points amount dropped from 70,000 to 24,000. The very next moment, the empty red space faded away as he was standing at the lake's edge. He quickly closed his eyes, imagining how the demon should look like. He already had an image in his mind, a butler. He was imagining a black suit-wearing butler in his late teens or early 30s. Despite the butler's ethereal form, he wanted the butler to look like a male with blue eyes, shoulder-length black hair, not completely but somewhat resembling the butler character in Black Butler. Chapter 289. 3 days before Michael returned to Elon continent from the southern continent. It was the same day Noah met Layla to give the Witcher Stone. Lady Alden, you can open your eyes. The Witcher Stone is yours. Noah ended his drama after the Supreme Guardian located the energy source. Layla looked at the red ruby on her palm. She could feel the immense power radiating from within. It was not arch energy, it was pure celestial energy. According to her mentor, there were only 3 Witcher Stones in the world. She closed her palm as a bright light appeared from her space ring enveloped the stone. The stone then disappeared along with the light. There's no way of finding what's inside her body, at least not yet. The Supreme Guardian talked to Noah telepathically. Do you think we should ask her for something that could help Andrew win the tournament? Noah thought. No harm in asking, who knows, she might have something. Andrews was Noah's cousin who was saved by Michael. Although Noah and Andrews were cousins, they were more like brothers than cousins. Noah would do anything for his cousin. In all the years Noah knew Andres, he never asked for Noah's help until 2 weeks ago. You can take the talisman and leave, Layla coldly said. Lady Layden, can I ask something else? Initially, Noah planned to brew a secret potion that would have helped him if he didn't see Ghost's name on the tournament competitors list. Among all his peers, only Ghost seemed to have the ability to beat him. Although Noah hated the fact that he's pretty selfish, Ghost did save his family. If not for him, Noah would have lost his mother, sister, and Andrews. Still, he needed to help Andrews defeat Ghost, and everyone stands in the way to win the main championship tournament. Peyton was betting on Selena and Alex to win the tournament, but deep down, Noah knew it was Ghost who had the most chance to win it. What? I want something that temporarily makes a body-strengthening cultivator a core formation stage cultivator in return for the Witcher Stone. Narita and Johanna stared at Layla's face. The way she looked at Noah was cold, yet she didn't say no to his request right out of the bat. His request might have been impossible to others, but she did know a musical note that would transfer some of her power to the target. If she used the note targeting whoever Noah wanted to reach the core formation stage, he or she would temporarily become one. The only downside was she needed to be in close proximity to the target. I assume you're asking for someone else, Layla asked. Noah was not going to hide the truth. The tournament committee only approved the use of the healing potion. Using anything else to gain an advantage over the competitors was considered a violation, and the violator would be punished severely. Andrew's my cousin. He must win the Elon Championship tournament. You're asking the mistress to help your cousin cheat. Narita lost her cool. Her hands tightly grabbed the Vina. She seemed like she would start to attack Noah any second. Noah wasn't afraid of them. He was sure that Layla wouldn't let her disciples attack the man who just delivered something extremely rare and valuable to her. Layla raised her hand as Narita quickly shut her mouth. Is that what you really want? Noah sighed when he heard Layla's question. In truth, Andrews wasn't a warrior but a rune master. Unlike him, Andrews had no combat training or experience. If Andrews wanted just to compete, Noah might have let him as it would help him get some battle experience. However, Andrews asked Noah to help him win the tournament. Noah tried his best to talk him out of the idea until he heard Andrews' reason behind his decision to compete and win the tournament. Love makes one do crazy things, Lady Alden. Andrews always had my back ever since we were little. It's time for me to return the favor. It's okay if you don't want to help me, Dash. I'm not helping you and just settling a debt. Go tell your cousin to be prepared. He'll be at core formation when the competition starts, she interrupted Noah before he could finish his thought. Noah was stunned for a couple of seconds. There was no concern in her eyes about the tournament committee. Thank you, Lady Alden. 3 days before Noah ventured searching for the Witcher Stone, he was roaming the garden with his mother at Penn Town. Alicia was on the other side of the garden with Sabrina. She was training Sabrina for the championship tournament for those under the core formation level. The golden Babaru followed Samuel the butler into the kitchen to snack on the food. Therefore Noah was alone with his mother. Where's Dad? Noah asked Diana. He went to the Sunrise Sect to buy potions for our soldiers. Noah frowned. What happened to the potions in our warehouse? All the potions in their warehouse were brewed by Noah himself. The Winston family handed out the potions for free. If anyone needed a healing potion in Penn Town, they could ask in any one of Winston's family warehouses. Noah disliked the idea of selling potions such as healing potions for money, unlike Michael. They're gone 2 weeks ago. You were nowhere to be found to brew more, so your dad decided to buy some in case of emergency, Diana said with a gentle smile. She hid her lie behind the smile. On contrary to what she said, there were still a few crates of healing potions in their warehouses, but the reason for Ethan's visit was he wanted to see whether Ghost has come out of seclusion yet. Ever since Ethan heard about Jack's murder, he put secret guards around the sect to make sure no one will hurt Ghost, his son. It was Ethan's way of showing his love for Ghost. Diana was unable to stop him from visiting the sect as Ethan blamed himself for everything that happened to Diana and Ghost. Noah couldn't see through his mother's lies because she had never lied to him before in his life. Besides, what she said made sense to him. Occasionally Diana stopped to tend to the flower plants on the side of the path they were walking. While she was tending to one of the roses, a maid came running to Diana. Lady Diana, the dress you ordered has arrived. The maid took deep breaths after running to Diana. Hearing the maid, Noah was surprised. He looked at his mother with his brows arched up. Mother, you ordered a new dress. Ever since Noah was little, he never saw his mother order new dresses or care for things such as jewelry, fancy clothes, unlike other noble ladies. She rarely visited clothing stores. They had to force her to make her come with them. Yet, right at the moment, her face lightened up hearing the maid. I can't go to the tournaments looking dull. She dusted the mud on her hand before walking towards the maid. Really? What have you done to my mother, woman? Noah chuckled as Diana twisted his ear for making fun of her. She was in a good mood. Does Sabi know you're going to the tournament? Noah thought the reason for his mother's sudden interest in new clothes was Sabrina. Since it was Sabrina's first major tournament, Noah was thinking Diana bought new clothes for the occasion. Although Diana was happy to see her daughter compete in the tournament, she was more excited to see her son. She was thankful to the Guardian Guild for preventing the Guardians from competing. She knew she couldn't even imagine her two sons fighting each other. It's a surprise. Your father and aunts are also coming to see the tournament. Other than Ethan, only Imelda, her elder sister, knew about Ghost's identity. Just like her, Imelda was also extremely excited to see her nephew in action. Not only Imelda, but even Sabrina was looking forward to seeing Ghost again. You're coming with us, Noah, Diana firmly said. You know I like to spend time with you guys, so yes, I'm coming, Noah said as he saw Samuel walking towards him from the manor. Young Master Andres is waiting for you at the apple tree. Huh? Did he say why? No, young master, but young Master Andres seemed odd, and also, there's a person with him. Noah frowned hearing Samuel. A person, you say? That person was wearing a hood and cloak, young master. Young Master Andrews said not to ask the person's identity and wanted to meet you immediately. The person with him, is he at the East Side Garden also? Diana creased her brows. Her smile gradually disappeared from her face. Yes, Lady Alden. Young Master Andrews must have a good reason to bring him there. The tree was in the east side garden. No one except the core members of their family was allowed to enter the east side garden. Noah couldn't help wondering why Andrews brought a stranger to the garden without telling anyone else. Go, yet if Andrews was asking for Noah, she knew it must be something important. Therefore she didn't keep Noah with her as she sent him to meet Andrews. Her instincts told her that Andrews is in some kind of trouble, but she trusted Noah to deal with whatever trouble Andrews was in. After bowing his head towards his mother, Noah made his way to the apple tree. Chapter 290. Andrews was standing under the apple tree overlooking the small pond. The lake was at the garden's center with countless herbs, trees and flower plants surrounding it. The air was pungent with the fragrance of jasmine. The lake was no natural basin filled with meltwater, but a luxury addition to the garden built by Ethan's grandfather. The lake was filled with colorful fishes such as the Japanese koi carp and goldfish. They were huge and numerous, each about as long as an adult arm. He gazed across the wind-roughed surface to the lily pads in bloom, their white or magenta petals catching the breeze. He inhaled slowly. His little piece of heaven in the Winston family manner. While an unsettling look in his eyes, he gently grabbed an apple above him. Under the sunrise, the apples glowed rosier than they do in the day's shine. The branches spread out as if so proud of the bounty they brought and sweetness given within each one. It was a party of colors, a perfect marriage of reds and greens, in blushes of baby pinks and dappled hues of chaos and order. It was a beauty that sprung from simple seeds blessed with mud and rain. On normal days, this tree and the scenery around him used to calm his mind. He learned most of his runes sitting under the apple tree. However, at this moment even the tree or the scenery couldn't even slightly calm his nerves. The hooded person was standing beside him staring at the beautiful glistening lake. The person was about Andrews' shoulder height. Andrews, the hooded person spoke with a sweet feminine voice. Contrary to what Samuel was thinking, the hooded person was not a he but a she. The girl concealed all her feminine features with the oversized hood and cloak. "What are we gonna do?" the girl asked. Her voice overflowed with worry and concern. Andrews gently patted her hand on his shoulder. He tried to hide his anxiety with a smile. "One thing for sure, you cannot disobey your father. My family has enough problems as it is. We can't add another one to the list. Let's hope Noah can help us," said Andrews. Because there were no guards inside the garden, the girl rested her head on Andrews' shoulder after he spoke. While they were drowned in their own train of thoughts, Noah entered the garden through the archway. They failed to hear his footsteps as they were too concerned about the upcoming championship tournament. A sliver of surprise could be seen in Noah's eyes when he saw the two of them. It was evident that the other person was a she as they both looked like couples in a park. Noah never thought Andrews had a girlfriend. He couldn't help wondering why Andrews chose not to tell him or anyone in the family. Andrews, hearing Noah's voice, Andrews' body jerked as the girl immediately lifted her head from his shoulder. They turned back to see Noah looking at them with a frown on his face. "Noah." Andrews swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Gradually sweat drops started to form on his forehead, thinking how he's gonna ask Noah's help. "Who is that?" Noah asked as the girl lifted her hood to show herself. The moment Noah saw her face, he was stunned. For a few seconds Noah was speechless. Princess Catherine, the girl in front of him, was the princess of Kingdom Bradia. Noah's stomach churned seeing the princess in their garden with no royal guards around her. The girl had a long face, a small nose and small lips. Her hazel eyes were narrow with thin eyebrows. The golden silky hair was fluttering in the wind. There were no flaws in her beauty. Every inch of her body was perfect, like it was sculpted by the gods themselves. "Guardian Noah," the princess curtsied, showing her respect towards Noah. If this was any other day in different circumstances, Noah would have shown proper etiquette by kissing her hand. "Princess, what are you doing here? Where are the royal guards?" Noah asked, looking around once again. "They are in love." Noah suddenly heard his teacher's voice in his head. The Supreme Guardian chuckled. "Noah, I don't know how to tell you." Andrews' voice trailed off as he couldn't get himself to finish his sentence. He knew just by being here with no royal guards, Catherine has endangered herself. If the king found out that she left the castle with no one knowing to meet her secret lover, not only the princess but also the Winston family would be punished. "We are in love," Catherine bluntly said. Her voice was clear with no hesitation. "Does Aunt know about this, Andrews?" After a few moments of silence, Noah asked. Andrews slowly shook his head as Noah looked at Catherine. "I assume the king also have no idea about any of this." She remained silent. "Thought so." Noah sighed. "Just hear us out, Noah." Andrews knew he had to tell Noah everything before he asked his help. With a long sigh, Noah nodded. He knew he had to hear Andrews out before making up his mind about what to do with the situation. Besides, he wondered why Andrews chose this moment to reveal his love. If Andrews was in love with the princess, he could have asked his father and asked the king of her hand. Instead of doing that, they decided to meet in secret. For another 15 to 20 minutes, both of them explained from where they met first to how they ended up here. Apparently, they had met at the annual Rune Masters gathering, and this was not the princess' first time leaving the castle without her guards. She attended the gathering in disguise. According to both of them, it was love at first sight. Noah wasn't surprised by that because Andrews was a talented rune master as well as good-looking. It was understandable that the princess fell in love with him. After their initial meeting, they used to meet often without both families noticing. While Andrews was infected with starpox, she went to Azair searching for a cure. Noah was really moved when she said she would have taken her own life if Andrews had died. She said she would rather die than marry another man in her life. When Noah asked why didn't Andrews ask his father to go to Breedia and ask for her hand, Noah received a surprising answer. Although the Winston family was prestigious enough to ask the princess for her hand in marriage, King Breedia was adamant about marrying the princess to a warrior who could protect his daughter. The princess said that her aunt, King Breedia's little sister, was assassinated by the Grim Reapers in front of her husband who happened to be a rune master. King Breedia blamed his brother-in-law for his sister's assassination. In King Breedia's eyes, it was because he was weak and had no combat skill that he failed to save his wife. Since that day, the king promised himself that he would never marry his daughter to a rune master or anyone without the skills to fight and save his daughter if her life was in danger. So you're telling me the king has planned to marry you to the winner of the main championship tournament? Now Noah realized why they revealed themselves as lovers to him. Noah hated to admit it, but he knew there's no way in hell that Andrews could win the tournament for body-strengthening cultivators, let alone the tournament of the core formation cultivators. Even Noah hadn't reached the core formation stage yet. He was still at body-strengthening stage level 10, and it would take him another couple of weeks of cultivation to reach the core formation stage. My father is willing to offer the Bradford barony to the winner, so the winner would become a baron before marrying me. Court politics, Andrews sighed. Andrews must win this tournament, Master Noah. My father will give my hand to the winner the same day they announce the winner. I'd brother die than give my hand to another man, not in this life, as she said. She flicked her wrist. A small vial of green liquid appeared in her hand. Noah could smell the pungent smell coming from the vial. Poison. Noah recognized the liquid with a single glance. If Andrews don't win this, I will drink this and die. Tears started to roll out of her beautiful eyes. And I will follow you to the afterlife, Kathy. Yet again Noah was stunned by their words. He couldn't even imagine his loving aunt losing her son. The loss of Andrews would devastate the family, and Noah would never let anything happen to his family. Andrews was like a brother to him, so how could he let him die? A sliver of resolve emerged in Noah's eyes. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but the tournament has been postponed a week from the set date. The committee will announce the news at the end of this week. This gives us exactly 2 weeks to come up with a plan. Postponed, why? Andrews asked. Although this did not solve their problem, seeing Noah agree to help them gave Andrews some strength. The scholars are still working on the device to determine one's cultivation level. It must be God's blessing that the tournament has postponed. Catherine wiped off the tears as a sliver of smile filled with hope emerged on her face. Master Noah please call me Noah Princess. We are gonna be family. Noah placed his hand on Andrew's shoulder. This was his way of showing his support. Noah's smile filled both of them with confidence and hope. Noah, this might help us. With another flick of her wrist, a parchment appeared in her hand. Noah noticed the symbol of Vina on the mark. Chapter 291. Gaia's brows arched up in shock. White and black smoke was coming out of the demon stone, gradually forming a human form. She always imagined a demon being 8 to 10 feet tall with muscle mountains for the body as well as 2 horns sticking out of its head. However, the figure in front of her seemed human-like. Moreover, the figure looked like a butler wearing a black coat, white shirt, silver vest, and black tie. In her eyes, he was nowhere close to as handsome as Michael, yet she knew if the ethereal form was a human in physical form, he would get many suitors, including princesses. She was positive that it's the human who's responsible for the demon's current appearance. The demon butler's ethereal form slowly became brighter and brighter. Both Michael and the demon butler's eyes were closed. She waited for them to open their eyes. While she was waiting for them, the Hydra started to grow in size. It felt like she was holding a hot plate in her hand as the Hydra. Still, she never let go of the Hydra. Do you wish to accept the demon as your subordinate? What do you think, you damn system? The system remained silent, waiting for his obvious answer. Yes, I do, he sighed in his mind. He was too excited to meet his demon butler, so he chose not to bicker with the system. The thought of having a demon for butler made his blood boil in excitement. He never felt this excited since he first realized he has a system and he's in a fantasy world. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a demon subordinate. The demon subordinate has reached 100% loyalty. Congratulations to the host for unlocking the bloodthirsty ability of demon subordinate. The demon subordinate can absorb the blood essence of a living being to temporarily enhance its strength. The more powerful the blood essence, the stronger the demon would grow. Due to the demon's ethereal form, it's completely immune to any physical attacks. You can bind the demon to yourself in one of your bases of operations. No one except half-immortal beings could see the demon unless the host wishes to reveal the demon. Warning. Although the demon is completely loyal to the host, it has its own personality. The system suggests you buy the Book of Butlers and basic knowledge of this world for the demon to learn the ways of this world. Does the host wish to buy the 2 books for 3,000 badass points? His field of view was filled with blue notifications and warnings. He took time to go through every single one of them before buying the 2 books as the system suggested. The personality warning: don't worry, Michael. In fact, he was glad to see his butler was not a mindless drone. He wanted all of his subordinates to act on their own for his greater good. Subordinate, Demon Butler Cultivation Level, Core Formation Level 8 Race, Demon Status, Healthy in Ethereal Form, Trait, Butler Unique, Loyalty towards the host, 100% System, list all the skills of the demon. I want to see the cool stuff he could do. Another interface appeared before them. One by one the demon butler's skills were listed in front of them in golden letters. Skills: Phantom Touchbind Area Teleportation Bloodthirsty Imitator Phantom Form Mind Dominator. Phantom Touch is the ability of the demon to materialize for a moment inside a physical being. The demon butler can bend the space around it to teleport near the host and the bound area. The demon can absorb blood essence to temporarily grow stronger. The demon can imitate the host's spells and skills. The imitated skills and spells will not be as powerful as the host's arsenal. The demon can choose to hide from naked eyes. Only the host and a chosen subordinate could see the demon when it's using the phantom form. The demon's voice could dominate weak-willed enemies' bodies. The system explained each skill one by one. Can these skills be upgraded? Yes. The skills can be upgraded through badass points and reaching higher stages in cultivation. Cool. Michael was ready to meet his butler, but he had one last thing to do. Buy the 2 books and bind him to me in the abyssal. Warning? Suddenly his field of view turned black as the warning beeps screamed in his mind. Binding the demon to you will reveal everything about you to the demon, including your previous life. What? Michael was thoroughly upset to hear this. Cool down, host. The demon is 100% loyal and the rules for the subordinates apply to it. Hence, the demon cannot harm you or betray you in any ways. If he knows everything, does that include you? No. The demon will not know the existence of the system. Michael's mind was filled with questions. Trusting the demon with his previous life didn't seem like a good idea to him. He wanted that life to be hidden from anyone except Gaia. Only because he was planning to marry Gaia, he revealed his previous life to her. Still, he didn't completely divulge everything that happened on Earth. Think of the demon as the Alfred to your Batman. Even if you wanted to, you cannot go back to Earth or anyone in the universe no matter how powerful they were. So there's no harm in letting the demon know. Trust me, host, I got your back. Somehow the system sounded trustworthy to Michael. Despite its tendency to rob him of his badass points, the system did have his back always. His gut feeling told him to listen to the system. Sooner or later, someone would definitely connect the dots between Ghost and Lucifer. Michael knew this. So letting the demon know about his 2 personas wasn't a world-ending problem to him. Revealing his life on Earth seemed like a bad idea. Still, the system assured him that the demon would not be able to betray him in any ways. What if I don't bind the demon to me? Then there's a possibility of losing the demon's loyalty slowly, and if the loyalty level dropped under a certain point, the system will be forced to neutralize the demon. The system sounded cold. After spending almost 60,000 badass points, Michael would never let the demon die in vain. With a heavy sigh, he finally decided to bind the demon. Go ahead, bind the demon to me in the abyssal. Michael felt a tingling sensation within him, like something was getting embedded into his soul itself. The sensation lingered for another couple of minutes before fading away. Now you're all set. His field of view got clear of notifications and warnings as he slowly opened his eyes to see a black-haired man in butler's uniform kneeling in front of him. The butler looked exactly as he imagined. Tell me what's going on here? Is he really a demon? Her eyes sparkled with excitement regardless of her doubts. She was used to the miracles performed by him. In her mind, this was another miracle from him. Oh, I forgot to mention, the demon will have no recollection of its memory before entering into the slumber state. So he's like a newborn child, take good care of him. The system expected him to get mad. However, Michael just laughed in his mind. That's good, he was glad that the demon has no recollection of its past. This way, the demon would focus on serving Michael rather than trying to finish whatever business it had before entering into the deep slumber. What the? The system sounded surprising. Michael did not continue to argue with him as he was busy admiring his demon butler. He was perfect, neck-length hair that looked shiny and straight, a body type that was neither too bulky with muscles nor thin, blue eyes that filled with loyalty towards Michael, neatly ironed clothes that looked crisp. In simple words, he was a perfect butler. No one in this world would recognize him as a demon in a million years. Should I address you as Lord Lucifer or Master Ghost, my lord? His voice didn't disappoint Michael. The voice was crisp, rough, mesmerizing, and gravely calm. How did he dash? He had to know everything about me, that's the price I had to pay for waking him. I'm not questioning you, but can we really trust him? He's a demon, for God's sake, she quickly whispered in his ears. You can trust me with your life, Lady Gaia. The butler turned his sharp gaze towards Gaia. Michael never thought the butler would also know her identity. It seemed like binding let the demon know almost everything Michael knew. Whoa, this is fucked up, she stared at Michael as he signaled the butler to stand up. Although the butler was in an ethereal form, it was really hard to notice the lack of physical body. The question is, how do we call you? Michael asked. The three of them stood in silence for a few moments. She was in shock due to everything that happened while Michael was deep in thinking of a new name for his butler. At the moment, except for the sound of the waterfall hitting the ground, there was no sound. Azazel, Sebastian, Michael and Gaia said at the exact same time. The name Azazel was Michael's while the latter was hers. The demon gawked at both of them with a calm smile. He kept his etiquette like a professional butler. What the hell? I name you Azazel Sebastian. You'll be called Azazel when we're in this form and Sebastian when I'm Ghost and she's Elia. Until we found you a suitable physical body, avoid revealing yourself to the world. Chapter 292, You can call me Lord Lucifer here, Dark Queen would do, the both of them said to their new butler. We can discuss about him later. Now tell me, why can't I sense their magical fluctuations? Gaia asked, gently brushing her hands over the Hydra's warm body. The Hydra remained eyes closed. I think it's his presence that's stopping me from sensing the energy around them. I don't think so. Michael didn't think what she said was true. Oh, they're waking up. Just as Michael was about to ask the system, Gaia saw the heads slowly opening their eyes. They had grown double in size. It was like they had grown from the size of a week-old puppy to a month-old puppy. Now the wings looked more noticeable than before. Shit, I feel good. Me too, the silver head said after the white head. The black head tried to sense the changes in their body in silence. Come on, let's see we can fly. In their excitement, the Hydra failed to notice the demon butler as well as the gazes of Michael and Gaia. The Hydra tried to flap its wings, hoping to take off from Gaia's hand. Aren't they cute? Seeing them bouncing on her hand, Gaia's eyes sparkled. She immediately squeezed the Hydra against her chest, showing them with kisses. Lord Lucifer, do you have any orders for me? Azazel asked. Are you familiar with the Abyssal's layouts? Since I'm bound to the Abyssal, I know this place like the back of my hand. I can feel Dalar and Arya in their rooms. Let's go meet them, shall we? Michael made his way towards the door. They'll bite your face off, woman. The white head cursed Gaia. In Gaia's eyes, they looked cuter when they are mad. Therefore, she continued to caress them before following Michael. Although the ethereal form of the butler let him hover above the ground, he actually moved like he was walking. Lord Lucifer, I should take the liberty of cleaning this place. I might need to borrow a few undeads from Dalar, Azazel asked Michael after noticing the dust-covered walls and floor. By imagining him as a butler as well as making him learn the Book of Butler, Michael had turned the demon into a professional butler. I think you broke our demon. Why is he looking and talking like a butler? Don't you want a demon for your butler? I do, Michael said while walking towards Arya's room, which was the armory, before he turned it into a room to accommodate Arya and her brothers. I hope you'll come to love your life, Azazel, Michael said. Serving you is what I love, Lord Lucifer. Being your butler is the greatest gift a demon like me could get. I like him, Gaia nodded approvingly. Seems like you have a lot to do here, demon, the white head said looking at the walls. He'll transform the Abyssal in a few days, lady. His voice trailed off as Michael halted his steps for a moment to look at Azazel. How may I address the three of them, Dark Queen, Lord Lucifer? As far as I know, you haven't named them yet. She's Iag, he's Sarba, and the black is Cain. Together they shall be called Vidora. She raised her hand high, beaming with pride and excitement. She made the scene as theatrical as possible with her voice and movements. You just spelled your name backward and named her, and spelled Aubers backward and named him, didn't you? The names sound cool, that's all it matters. She gave a thumbs up to him. The white head rolled its eyes yet did not disagree with its name Iag. The silver head who got the name Sarba had sparkles in its eyes. As usual, the black head remained unemotional. Since the names did sound cool, Michael accepted the names. The moment he accepted the names in his mind, a bell sound ringed in his mind. Congratulations for getting a new familiar, Vidora the three-headed Hydra. Ignoring to look at the familiar tab for the time being, Michael came to Arya's room doorsteps. The door was closed but they could hear sobbing sounds coming from inside. Knock, knock, knock. Michael knocked on the door thrice as the sobbing sound quickly stopped. Who's there? Who do you think? Gaia opened the door to see Arya sitting beside the large bed where her brothers were resting. There were tubes attached to Michael's healing potions running into their bodies. The twins slightly looked better than they were before, as the scars caused by various experiments had almost disappeared from their bodies. Their hair and skin had more shininess, indicating their physical recovery. Lord Lucifer, Dark Queen, Arya quickly stood up from the bed before kneeling down before them on one knee. Rise, Michael gestured to her to stand up. He then walked towards Titus and Optimus. Their bodies and souls are healing faster than I expected, except for fewer scars on their bodies. He saw no difference, yet he lied to make Arya feel better. He planned to heal the twins using the badass points, but unfortunately he had to spend most of his points on Azazel. Compared to the twins, waking Azazel seemed more important than the twins. What does that mean, Lord Lucifer? Arya wiped off the tears from her face. Her hands and legs shivered looking at Azazel. Just his ethereal form freaked her out a little, so she avoided direct eye contact with him. They are recovering, Arya. You might see them waking up sooner than you expect, but it'll take time to regrow their limbs. Really? Finally her lips slightly curved upwards, revealing a relaxed smile. Now, have you finished the task I gave you? It had been almost 5 months since he met Matthias, the Broad River sect leader. He ordered Ella to get as many students and teachers as she can and join the Sunrise sect. Arya's task was to assassinate Matthias, as Michael knew he would stand in his plan. I did what you asked, Lord Lucifer. Arya flicked her wrist as an empty vial appeared in her hand. Since Arya was a body refining stage cultivator and Matthias was at the core formation stage, Michael gave a powerful poison brewed by him to Arya to kill Matthias. He didn't say whether to poison Matthias' food or cut him with a blade smeared with the poison because he wanted Arya to think for herself. Good. Practice your combat skills using the netherals. Since your body is adapting to the conditions here, you won't turn into an undead if they bite you, but it will hurt like hell, so avoid getting bitten. Gaia gave a piece of advice to Arya. After seeing how they treated slaves in the southern continent, Gaia had a soft spot for Arya. Yes, Lord Lucifer, she was afraid of the undead. One could see the fear in her eyes. Yet she obeyed his orders regardless of her fears because she herself wanted to get tough. After all, she promised herself that she will never let anyone hurt her family ever again. After giving Arya her next task, Michael left the room. While walking through the corridors towards Dilar's room, Gaia turned her gaze at Azazel to see him open and close his mouth like he had something to ask but not sure whether he should. Do you have something to say, Azazel? Gaia asked. I prefer you speak your mind, Azazel. Michael didn't stop or turn back but said while walking. As you wish, Lord Lucifer. I do have something to ask. What do you have in mind? Michael asked. I know you had a good reason to lie to Arya. Can you enlighten me on the why? Michael was surprised to see Azazel noticing his lie. He never thought Azazel could detect his lie without even seeing his face, as he had the mask on his face to cover his micro-expressions. Sometimes, a lie can do more good than the truth. Azazel repeated his words in his mind. Eventually they reached the doorsteps of Dilar. There was no sobbing sound coming from the room but the growling sounds of the netherals. After a few hours, Michael and Gaia reached the abyssal. There were several people surrounding a bed. The house's interior and the furniture had the difference of black and white. The house looked ancient with several holes, long cracks in the walls and worn-out pantries and wooden racks. However, the sofa, cushions, the tea table in the center of the hall, and the bed looked majestic. The house belonged to none other than Michael and Gaia. It was their sect house. Since Gaia ordered them not to touch anything until she returns from seclusion, the workers didn't renovate the house. No one would enter Ghost's house except Raylene, Little Cindy, and Nightmare. The first two would get inside the house to keep it from getting dust-covered. Nightmare usually rested with Claire as he was not used to sleeping alone. However, at the moment several people were inside Michael's bedroom itself. "Please Cindy, just a little." Raylene was sitting on Michael's bed with a tiny bowl of soup in her hand. Cindy was lying on the bed covering up to her neck with Michael's blanket. The little girl was shivering. Her usual playful child smile was nowhere to be found. "I want Big Brother and Sister Elia right now." Cindy tried to raise her voice, yet only a whisper came out of her mouth. Raylene turned her head helplessly, looking at Claire. "I don't want the bad man to hurt me like he did to Brother Jack." Raylene's eyes began to water up. Ever since Claire found out Jack's body in his own pool of blood, the little girl was severely traumatized. Not even Nightmare could calm her as the girl was asking for Ghost and Elia. Raylene tried to take the girl home, but she refused to leave Ghost's home. "Look, if you drink this soup, I will bring Ghost and Elia here." Claire sat beside Raylene, gently brushing Cindy's forehead. "You said the same thing yesterday," Cindy sobbed while tightly holding onto the blanket. Sect leader Claire. Suddenly a male disciple rushed into the home. He was taking heavy deep breaths in exhaustion. "Brother Ghost. Brother Ghost and Sister Elia has come out of the seclusion. Another chapter will be up today. Stay tuned." Chapter 293. Raylene and Claire immediately stood up from the bed as the bed was on fire after hearing the disciple. The disciple standing in the room with Claire heaved a heavy sigh of relief, beaming in joy. "Where are they?" Claire asked. She felt like an immense amount of pressure was being lifted off her shoulder. "They are at the foothills and coming here." Instead of flying here, it was Michael's idea to land at the foothills and take a stroll. He wanted to see how the sect has changed since he left. "Go wake up Nightmare, he's at my house with the baby." "Yes, sect leader." The disciple left the room in a hurry to wake up Nightmare, who is sleeping with Cindy's brother. Despite his big scally terrorizing body, Nightmare was pretty gentle with the baby. No one in the world would have believed that Nightmare, a dragon, loved babysitting. "Brother?" Cindy jumped off the bed full of energy. Before they could stop her, she leaped out of the bed, running towards the outside. The others couldn't do anything but follow behind the little girl. Hearing that Ghost had returned, Cindy ran outside, showing no signs of fever or exhaustion. When Claire reached outside, she saw disciples rushing towards their dormitory in fear. Only a few daredevils remained outside of Ghost's house to see his and Elia's reaction to Jack's death. "Where are they?" Cindy shouted at one of the disciples waiting for Michael. She kept bouncing from the ground to see the distance. It took everyone a few minutes before vaguely noticing two figures in black slowly walking towards them. "Look, Brother Ghost is back." "Is that really him?" "Wow, he looks different." "Of course it's Brother Ghost. Who do you think walking beside him?" "That's Sister Elia you've been telling us about." "Sister Elia gonna lose it?" "Just let sect leader Claire break the news." The disciples began to chit-chat. Some seemed excited while some seemed terrified. Those who recently joined the sect from various towns had never seen Ghost before. Therefore they waited for the famous Ghost of Rivertown with their own eyes. Sect leader Claire, Lady Raylene. Claire turned back to see Daniel and Ricky rushing towards them carrying a basket full of wild mushrooms for Raylene's soup. "We heard Master Ghost is back," Daniel said. One could see a sliver of fear in his eyes. Ricky on the other hand looked pale as a white paper. Both of them were more afraid of Elia than Ghost because they knew Master Ghost is a level-headed calm person while Elia is the exact opposite of him. Besides, all of them knew Jack was Elia's handyman who followed her behind like a puppy dog. Among all the disciples, only Jack had the guts to talk to her and even ask her for favors. It was not a secret to the disciples that Jack worshipped Ghost and Elia as his siblings. At that moment, Michael and Gaia were walking towards the home with the biggest frowns on their face. Along the way, they noticed several guards of the Winston family and adventurers patrolling the path to the sect. They expected a line of noble carriages from the foothills to their home to buy potions and pills, yet they saw no carriages or a single person other than a disciple of the sect or a guard of the Winston family. "I have a bad feeling about this," Michael thought to himself. "Brother?" Suddenly he heard a high-pitched shout of Cindy as he saw the little girl running towards him as fast as she could. Her cute face put a wide smile on Michael's face. Almost 20 meters away from Claire, Raylene, the disciples and his house, he was welcomed by Cindy. The little girl leaped from the ground, throwing herself to Michael. His haircut, new clothes or buffed-up physique was not enough to give the little girl a hard time recognizing Michael. "Hey there, Butterball." Michael caught the little girl in the midair safely. He felt her wrap around his neck getting tighter and tighter. "You're back," as she said. She removed her one hand to hug Gaia. I missed you too, tiny human, Gaia giggled. She moved closer so the little girl could hug both of them at the same time. Cindy didn't stop with the hug as she tried to climb on Michael's chest using her tiny feet. You're back. Don't let the bad man hurt me, she sobbed, hugging him tightly. I think she's crying, Gaia said. Michael was confused. Her sobbing didn't seem like a cry of joy. The little girl kept trying to climb on Michael when she pulled her apart from him by lifting her by the arms. Cindy's face was pale, there was no redness or baby fat in her face. She lost weight as Michael could see her collarbones and feel her ribs on his hands. Moreover, black circles could be seen under her eyes because of her lack of sleep. Her transformation, what she just said about a bad man and the reactions of the people around them made him realize that something bad has happened. He expected them to welcome him with joy and cheers, yet he only saw fear and anxiety on their faces. Where's Nightmare? Although he made sure absolutely no harm could come to Nightmare, seeing their reactions made him automatically think of Nightmare. Don't leave me again, in his arms, Cindy cried. Michael hugged her as Cindy buried her head on his chest. I know something's very wrong here or you wouldn't have closed the Majestic. Where is that little shit? He better have a valid reason like dying to make me stop from what I'm planning to do to him. Ricky and Daniel were responsible for the restaurant in Rivertown while it was Jack's responsibility to keep the Majestic up and running without problems while they were away. Hence, Gaia looked for Jack, having zero clues about his demise. Brother Jack, huh? But tears began to roll out of Cindy's eyes. Gaia saw everyone avoiding direct eye contact with her when she mentioned Jack. Her eyes slowly turned cold as she walked towards Claire. She then grabbed Claire's shoulder. Where is Jack? Teacher. While Gaia was asking Claire, Michael saw Olivia running towards him from the direction of the herbal garden. Olivia too had no smile on her face. Spit it out. Claire felt her surrounding air turning colder. With tears filling up her eyes, Claire finally opened her mouth. He's dead. Jack's dead, Elia. The entire surrounding became deadly silent. No one dared to utter or make a sound. Michael's mind got filled with questions when he heard Claire. Dead? Gaia asked. The veins in her eyes popped, turning her eyes red. Her entire body shivered in anger. The bad man killed him, Cindy blurted out. He was murdered? Oh. Gaia asked Claire. Everyone's gaze was locked on Gaia. Michael didn't show his inner emotions as Gaia, but he was feeling the anger boiling inside him after knowing that Jack was murdered. We don't know, Claire shook her head. Finally, Gaia let go of her shoulder. He was murdered and you don't know who, she repeated the sentence again and again as she walked towards their house. Lord Lucifer, I suggest we take a few steps back. Michael heard Azazel's voice. He was standing right beside him, yet no one could see the butler because of his phantom form skill. Everyone felt the killing intent radiating from Gaia, skyrocketing. You don't know. Suddenly she shouted, throwing her fist at the house. Boom. The wall exploded into smithereens as the entire house shook. The front wall of their house completely collapsed. In a few moments, countless cracks formed in the ground beneath the house as well as on the other walls. He was killed and you don't know. Her shout almost busted their eardrums. Lightning Dash. Michael immediately covered Cindy with his coat before activating Lightning Dash. He pushed the spell to its maximum potential to save Raylene, Claire, Ricky, and Daniel from getting hurt by the debris. Gaia went mad as she kept punching the house until it completely collapsed to the ground. A mushroom cloud of dust enveloped them. Only her mad screams could be heard in the area. Ilya. Stop. Claire and the disciples screamed. Take them away. Thanks to Michael, most of them survived Gaia's rampage with little to no wounds, while some of them had their heads open due to the debris hitting them. He was like Flash rescuing civilians from evil supervillains. Michael was glad there was no other building in the area for her to go, breaking them all. She disappeared from his sight into the dust storm. Michael yelled at Claire before handing Cindy over to Raylene. Claire and the disciples did not linger around to get hit by debris. They ran away, taking the injured with them. Michael heard her mad shout coming from the ruins. It was obvious she completely lost control of her anger. Unlike Michael, she wasn't trained to control her emotions and anger. Michael wanted to stop her before she harmed others and herself. Cracks of lightning surrounded him as he was about to rush into the ruins of his house when he saw a red ball dashing into the ruins from the skies. Nightmare? Chapter 294. Michael activated the lightning dash to rush into the ruins. Wind blast. While running into the dust cloud surrounding the ruins, he raised his hand, sending several blasts of wind to clear the rubble and the dust. The powerful wind blasts cleared the dust in a few seconds, revealing Nightmare and Gaia. For a moment, Michael couldn't recognize the dragon. When he left for the southern continent, Nightmare was the size of his hand. Now it stood almost 3 meters tall and 10 meters long. He was not as big as Smog but not small either. Nightmare's crimson-red scales glistened under the sunlight. Nightmare was holding down Gaia against the ground. He held onto her hands, preventing her from destroying and attacking him in rage. Ghosty. When Nightmare saw Michael walk out of the dust, his vertical pupils became rounded. Even Nightmare's voice became rough and gritty, suitable for a majestic dragon. Get off me. The momentary distraction was enough for Gaia to fight against Nightmare's hold. She gritted her teeth, slowly lifting Nightmare's hands. Both Michael and Nightmare were stunned to see her strength. Even Michael did not know she had the raw strength to lift a dragon against gravity. Her hands slowly began to show purple scales while she began to grow in size. In addition to the scales and growth in size, Nightmare noticed her eyes transforming into those of a cobra. Michael rushed into her side before she fully lost control of the innate ability that keeps her in human form. Visible to the naked eyes, she was becoming more and more like a snake. The purple scale had covered up to her neck while below her waist transformed into one long snake body. Shit, system, I need a powerful sleeping potion, 1,000 badass points, quick. I cannot hold her much longer, Ghosty, Nightmare growled as Michael came to Gaia's side. You idiot, Michael cursed her before forcing the potion down her throat. She frantically wiggled, spitting the potion on both Michael's and Nightmare's faces. Still, she couldn't overpower a dragon and Michael. Let go. Finally, a few seconds after Michael forced the potion down into her mouth, she started to lose consciousness. Her body gradually shrank back to her normal human form. Sigh, I wish we had reunited under different circumstances, Ghosty. Nightmare lowered himself to rest his head on Michael's shoulder. Michael wrapped his arm around Nightmare's neck, gently patting his warm body. Me too, buddy, me too. To Michael's surprise, Nightmare shrank himself to the size of a 3-month-old German shepherd. With a leap, he landed on Michael's shoulder. Then he began to shower Michael with wet kisses. Was that your original size? Nightmare shook his head. This is my original size. I can temporarily get bigger to enhance my strength. It's one of my innate talents I got after metamorphosis. Michael nodded, picking Gaia from the ground. Show me where he was killed? He asked Nightmare. Before doing anything, Michael wanted to see where Jack was killed. He didn't think he could find the killer by just looking at the place, but still, he wanted to see it. Follow me, Nightmare flapped his wings to ascend to the sky. With a couple of flaps, he was high in the sky. Carrying Gaia in his hand, Michael took off from the ground. He stopped for a moment in the sky to look back at the ruins. Even though the house was shabby, it was his home. He couldn't help feeling a bit sad to see it crumble into pieces. In addition to the house, Jack's face also flashed across his eyes. Jack was innocent in Michael's mind. If Jack was Lucifer's blacksmith and killed by his enemies, Michael would have understood the reasoning behind his death. However, Jack never did no such thing as helping him kill people. Not even before flying for 5 minutes, Nightmare started to descend towards the forest near his house. Black lines appeared on Michael's forehead. He was thinking Jack was killed somewhere far from his house, which would have indicated his murder wasn't connected to Lucifer. He was killed near our home? Michael asked while flying through the thick canopy. What was Jack doing here? He asked another question. Collecting mushrooms and fruits for Raylene. Michael halted his steps. He remembered that collecting mushrooms and fruits were usually done by Cindy, as she loved to help her mother. In addition to the forest being so close to Michael's home, there was always Jack or a disciple accompanying Cindy. Even Gaia would sometimes tag along with the little girl if she wanted to hunt in the forest. Was Cindy with Jack that day? The sight of his previous life flashed across his eyes. Everyone in his orphanage was killed because of Spectre's orders, so Michael had seen little children he cared about dying. That was the day he lost his calmness and went rampage, killing every single one of his assassin colleagues, including his girlfriend Inspector. The thought of Cindy might have been killed along with Jack made his blood boil. He loved Cindy because the little girl loved him unconditionally. Unlike Maisie, who was a spoiled brat in his eyes, Cindy was such a sweet, caring girl who wanted nothing from him. Not only Michael but every single person in the sect also cherished her. She was the one who found his body, Nightmare said, swallowing a mouthful of saliva. He was not an exception to those who adore Cindy. Hence, Nightmare avoided thinking about scenarios that could have harmed Cindy. Nightmare stopped walking when he reached a large oak tree. This is the place. Michael gently placed Gaia under another tree before walking to Nightmare's side. System, I need red mint, urchin vein, Pegasus hoof, and bark, leeching buxus. He thought in his mind as the system showed him the price of 800 badass points before him. Nightmare saw the green alchemy flames appear above his hand. What are you doing? There's no perfect crime, Nightmare. We can find traces of evidence if we have the right tool, in this case, a potion. Michael threw the various ingredients into the green fire. He then made a few hand signs in one hand while holding the fire in the other. As usual, pearl-like essence began to form above the green fire before finally coming together to make a liquid orb. Without sending the potion into a vial, Michael waved his hand as the liquid splashed on the tree and the ground around the tree. The ground absorbed the liquid in a few seconds. Gradually before their eyes, the ground's color changed from muddy brown to fluorescent blue. Is that blood? Michael said as he squatted down to see any patterns on the ground. He hoped Jack would have left some clues about his killer. Although it was highly unlikely, he still hoped for a clue. While Michael was studying the ground for clues, Nightmare noticed Gaia's body moving. She's waking up. In the split second Nightmare turned his head, Michael ruffled the ground to remove the clue from their eyes. Michael saw two distinct marks on the ground. He knew Jack probably had written the two letters before dying. There were not many things that related to the letters GG except Guardian Guild. Where am I? She mumbled, slowly opening her eyes. Both Michael and Nightmare remained silent without answering her question. They wanted for her to completely wake up from her sleepiness. Gaia's vision slowly cleared up to reveal the tree around her. The lack of sunlight coming through the canopy made seeing everything around her clearly difficult. You dumb snake, you destroyed our home and revealed your identity to everyone in the sect. Instead of answering Nightmare, she turned her gaze towards Michael. Do you know who killed him? She asked coldly. Although she seemed not as furious as before, he could still see the murderous intent in her eyes. No, what she did made Michael mad at her. She single-handedly endangered herself and him. If she was to fully reveal herself as Naga, it wouldn't be long before Zanali finds out about her true identity. At that time she would be killed or imprisoned along with him. If she began to act crazy every time someone close to them was murdered, his enemies would use this to their own advantage. Keeping a calm head was always important to stay ahead of their enemies. Until he was sure that she wouldn't lose her mind again like that, he decided not to tell about the Guardian Guild. If she tried to attack a Guardian on a rampage, the Guild would destroy her and his sect. Compared to the Guardian Guild, they were like weak ants. They still had a long way to go before starting to challenge or mess with the Guardian Guild. His full focus was on becoming strong without making powerful enemies. Then find who murdered him. I will kill him and everyone knows about Jack's murder. No, I won't kill him right away, I will flay him alive piece by piece. I will make him experience hell. She looked crazy and ominous with that evil grin on her face. You want to keep your secrets, fine. But I want you to find the person who killed him. If anyone could find who killed Jack, Gaia knew its ghost. Chapter 295. Trust me, I will find whoever did this, but I won't tell you anything related to his murder until then, Michael blatantly said to her face. Are you fucking kidding me right now? She never expected this answer from Michael. Do I look like I'm kidding? What you did was stupid. You lost control of yourself, endangering us and everyone around. Nightmare agreed with Michael with a nod. So you expect me to stand there like a stone? I'm sorry, I wasn't trained to be as heartless as you were. Calm down, both of you. Nightmare tried to defuse the situation before it escalated further. Shut up, lizard. I'm talking to him. She quickly shut Nightmare before continuing to argue with Michael. I get that I might have lost control of my emotions, but you don't even care. Jack treated you like his own brother and he was your kind, for God's sake. Michael remained in silence, uttering no words. He let her pour out everything in her heart. As she said, he was trained to control his emotions. After hearing her words, he could tell that she had mistaken his calmness for lack of emotions. Although he was trained to control his emotions, it didn't mean he didn't feel anything. He just chose not to show it outside or let the emotions cloud his judgment. Would you do something or be as calm as now if something happened to me? It was evident that her anger slowly turned towards Michael. She expected him to find the person who killed Jack without a delay, yet hearing that he had no intention to let her know anything regarding the investigation until he finds the scumbag responsible made her blood boil in anger. Moreover, she felt like he didn't trust her after everything they went through together. So you'll only trust me as long as I behave to your liking? She stopped talking, expecting him to say something. By acting the way you did, what did you gain? Did you find out who killed Jack? Michael simply asked two questions instead of explaining himself. She kept opening and closing her mouth without an answer to give. You asked if I would be as calm as now if something happened to you. The answer is yes, because if I start to lose my mind, anger and other emotions will cloud my judgment. Don't mistake my calmness for lack of emotions. I just don't show my emotions the way you did. And am not even gonna explain myself about trusting you. I trust you with my life, that's all you gonna get from me." Gaia's eyes began to water up hearing his last words. "I thought you would know this after everything we went through." After speaking these words, Michael took off from the forest, leaving Nightmare and Gaia behind. He wanted some time alone to process everything that just happened. Her words hurt him even though he hadn't realized it yet. "Are you happy now, Snake?" Puffs of smoke came out of Nightmare's nostrils. "How could you even ask him whether he trusts you or not? Has he done anything without including you?" Jack would have never wanted this. Tears began to roll out of her eyes as Nightmare continued. "Even now he chose not to tell you anything because he wants to protect you. Hear my words, Snake, you won't find someone who trusts and loves you as Ghost, not in this lifetime, not ever." She broke down to the ground, crying. Michael's words, Jack's death and Nightmare's words pierced her heart. She couldn't hold back the tears anymore. Seeing her break down to tears stunned Nightmare. He had never seen her like this. It was not his intention to make her cry. He slowly walked towards her before wrapping his wing around her shoulder. "You know how it feels to have a family that treats you as their enemy?" Gaia asked Nightmare, sobbing. The moments she spent with Zanali, her mother, and her father flashed across Gaia's eyes. Her stepmother or even her real father never treated her like they treated Zanali. They loved Zanali while always viewing Gaia as a stranger. "I know how it feels to be abandoned," Nightmare said. He still clearly remembered the time his mother threw him out of the nest and running from the humans who wanted to capture him for pleasure. Until he drew his last breath, he would never forget the first time he saw Ghost. In his eyes, Nightmare only showed love and excitement. Somehow Nightmare felt safer with him. "I always yearned for a family that loves me. This sect, you, Ghost, and everyone loves me unconditionally. You guys are my family." She looked at Nightmare with her teary eyes. "But I wasn't here to protect my family. I had nightmares of someone calling for my help. I didn't take it seriously. If I returned then dash," her throat tightened in sadness. "It's not your fault. Do not blame yourself. Just trust Ghost, he will find whoever did this. When we get our hands on that filth, he'll help you show him the hell." Nightmare chuckled to make her feel good. He shook her shoulders playfully. Despite their constant bickering and fights and the hate between the Naga race and the Dragon race, Nightmare loved Gaia and so was she. He couldn't care less about the hate between the two races. As far as he was concerned, she was family to him. "Blame yourself for destroying our home. Thanks to you we're homeless now," Nightmare teased her. He didn't let go of her as he kept her under his wings. It was a shabby house anyways. Finally Gaia whipped off the tears from her face. A small smile emerged on her face. "Now let's go find Ghosty. And try not to act like a bitch this time. Shut you scaly fuck. There's the snake I know and love." Gaia punched Nightmare in the neck as he gave a headbutt to her face. After that, they ascended to the sky searching for Ghost. The serrated mountains loomed in the distance. Gaia and Nightmare made their way towards them searching for Michael. The trees blanketed the mountains, decorating the mountains in jade green. The heaven-touching apex of the mountain was drenched in brilliant light. All across their line of sight, the tips of the mountain range stuck up like a row of thorns. Atop the tallest mountain top, Michael was standing alone. His black coat was fluttering in the wind backward. From the mountain top, he could see the entire sect and the river town on the horizon. He had never come to this place before, but he regretted that, seeing the calmness it gave to his soul and mind. Looking at the sky, he saw Nightmare and Gaia flying towards him. The demon butler was standing behind him, uttering no words. He let Michael enjoy peace and calmness. After a couple of minutes, they landed behind Michael. "Human," Michael heard Gaia's voice. She sounded meek, gentle, and apologizing. He kept gazing at the view before him as Nightmare and Gaia slowly made their way towards him. "I'm sorry," she hugged him from behind, burying her head on his back. "It's that dash. You don't have to explain yourself to me," Michael interrupted her. "You spoke your mind." His distant words began to hurt her. "You're right, I'm not gonna explain myself to you. I love you and I trust you with my life too. That's all you're gonna get from me." She hugged him as tight as she could. For a few minutes, they just stood there without moving until Michael turned back. "I promise I won't lose my mind again," Gaia said, looking him directly in the eyes. "No, you won't." Michael caringly embraced her. After seeing her teary eyes, he couldn't be mad at her anymore. He loved her so much that he couldn't see her cry. "I will make sure no one hurts the people we care about anymore," Michael said before gently kissing the top of her head. Eventually, Nightmare couldn't stay back. He came to join the hug. He grew big enough to wrap both of them in his wings. He then wiggled his head in between Michael and Gaia. I miss this so much, Nightmare purred. What are you gonna do? Gaia asked. We're going to make our sect stronger than any other sect in this entire continent, and it's time this continent has seen a 6-star alchemist. An unwavering resolution appeared in Michael's eyes. With the system's help, no matter the cost, he planned to become a 6-star myth-level alchemist. At that time, he would find an existence equal or stronger than the Guardian Guild to associate himself. It was time he played the offensive instead of defensive. Since they decided to mess with the people he cares about without thinking about any consequences, he would make them regret crossing his path. Let's start kicking asses by winning the upcoming championship tournaments. Nightmare reminded them about the tournaments. Oh shit, I almost forgot about that. It's tomorrow, isn't it? Gaia took her head back from his chest. Nope, they postponed it by a week. Why? Nightmare just realized something as he looked at both of them. You don't know, do you? Chapter 296, Holy fuck. That was why I couldn't see any arch-energy radiation. Gaia's jaw slightly dropped hearing Nightmare explain that the cultivators lost the ability to sense someone else's cultivation level as they were used to. Nightmare noticed Gaia and Michael keep looking at each other with their brows arched up. Don't tell me that you two were somehow involved, Nightmare sighed. It didn't really surprise him. Gaia was staring at Michael like a thief caught in the act. You could say that, Michael grinned. You're smiling, Nightmare tilted his head in confusion. As far as he knew, there was nothing good that could come out of the current world situation. Ever since Hydra's scream messed up arch-energy waves in the world, crimes of the rogue cultivators had been increased. The Hydra's scream worked like an EMP that short-circuited the energy radiation of the world, producing many known and unknown issues. Most defense arrays relied on sensing the arch-energy radiations coming from a cultivator. Since the Hydra's scream changed the way the radiation coming from someone's body, the arrays were rendered useless. Hence, the rogue cultivators capitalized on this opportunity to thieve, murder, and commit heinous crimes around the continent. The ability to hide the arch-energy radiation was what made Arya such a valuable asset to Michael. But now, practically everyone had her ability. Before we tell you what happened in the southern continent, I have a few things to take care of. Let's return to the sect. And thanks to you, we're homeless now. Michael flicked her on the forehead. That's what I said. Nightmare laughed as she rolled her eyes. You two are not gonna let this one go, are you? Nope. Nightmare shook his head before taking off to the sky along with Michael and Gaia. Flying for a couple of minutes from the hilltop was enough to reach the ruins of their home. Michael slowly descended from the sky to see several disciples cleaning up the ruins. The disciples were shifting through the rubbles to salvage something, yet all they could manage to salvage were big pieces of the sofa, Michael's bed, and the board of Majestic. Brother Ghost, the disciples welcomed Michael with fear-mixed smiles. They avoided eye contact with Gaia. After seeing what she did, they were freaked out. Why are you guys doing this? Get the adventurers or the constructions workers for this job? To make the sect the strongest, almost all the disciples needed to be better than the disciples of the other sections. By better, Michael meant powerful, disciplined, smart, hardworking, and humble, unlike those pricks like Alex or Selena. But Brother Ghost, it would cost us, a female disciple who was in the sect from its downfall said, scratching her head. The dwarf is gonna ask for a good chunk of coins anyway, so leave all the hard work to him and his people. He won't give a discount because you cleaned this mess. That makes sense knowing Master Fover, the disciples agreed with Ghost. Now go cultivate. Michael waved off the disciples before making his way towards Claire's manor. Adjacent to Claire's manor was Raylene's home. It was not as big or fancy as Claire's manor because it was just a temporary residence for Raylene. Michael planned to build her a manor suitable for a 5-star chef. Several disciples were standing in the mini garden before Claire's manor. When they saw the three of them approaching them, they made way for them. Brother Ghost, Sister Elia, Nightmare, the disciples greeted them respectfully. Michael nodded with a smile, giving some of them a pat on the shoulder on his way inside. The disciples who received the pat from Michael became electrified. Because they were new to the sect, they only heard about Ghost through the senior disciple stories. He was a local legend. They kinda expected him to be like the celebrity disciples like Alex, Selena or Victoria who wouldn't even look at the ordinary disciples like them, yet not only Michael smiled at them, he even patted some of them on the shoulder. It was a simple gesture from Michael's side, but for the disciples, it was a big thing. Wow, he looks so different in close. Did you see that? He smiled at me. He patted me on the shoulder. The seniors were right about him. He's so friendly. He has a dragon. What do you think his current cultivation level would be? And how strong is the dragon and Sister Elia? The disciples began to chatter among themselves looking at Michael walking into the manor. The smell of this world's paint was sweet, kinda like roses. Even after completing the construction work a month ago, the smell still lingered in the air. The corridors were rather empty with no vases, paintings on the walls, or chandeliers to light the house. Only when he reached the hall, he could see a few crude sofa sets as well as a chandelier decorating the hall. The sofa sets were made of bamboo as a large tea table made of redwood occupied the space before the sofas at the center. Claire and Elder Reiner were discussing something with serious faces. He saw Cindy sitting on the sofa beside Claire. Cindy wrapped her hands around Claire's hand. When Cindy noticed Michael, her face brightened up like someone lit a candle in her head, but when she saw Gaia, the little girl hid her face behind Claire's hand in fear. Realizing that she made Cindy afraid of her, Gaia really regretted her actions. Cindy kept gawking at Gaia hiding behind Claire's hand. Ghost, Elder Reiner, you look good. Every time he saw Elder Reiner, he reminded Michael of Gandalf the White with his long white beard and white robes. If he had a staff in his hand, he would be exactly like Gandalf. You look different. What happened to your hair? Elder Reiner laughed. The situation somehow turned less solemn. Come here. To Michael's surprise, Elder Reiner stood up to give him a hug. Welcome back, young man. Meanwhile, Gaia went to sit beside Claire, right next to Cindy. She grabbed Cindy's head, slowly turning it towards her. What? Are you afraid of me now? Even the grown-ups were terrified when Gaia lost control of her anger. Therefore, it was understandable when Cindy felt the same way as the others. Michael and Elder Reiner sat on the sofa silently looking at them. Nightmare quickly shrunk himself so he could rest on Michael's lap comfortably. A little, Cindy said meekly. I'm sorry that I made you afraid, Cindy. But didn't I say I don't like scared little girls? I'm not scared. Her voice sounded like a scared cat. But you're scared of me, she asked, lifting Cindy from the sofa by arms. Claire couldn't help smiling seeing how Cindy was in Gaia's arms like a puppy. Look at you, avoiding eye contact. I won't speak to you again if you're afraid of me. No, she quickly shook her head after getting threatened by Gaia. Are you scared of me? She asked again. Please promise you won't stop talking to me, Cindy pleaded with teary eyes. Cindy loved Gaia and Michael too much as she couldn't even imagine either of them staying mad at her. Promise me you won't be scared anymore and will be a strong girl. I promise. I can't hear you. I promise. Cindy raised her voice. Gaia smiled, embracing the little girl. Cindy hugged her back before giving a loving kiss on Gaia's cheek. Claire ruffled Cindy's head as Elder Reiner laughed in joy. Teacher, you're here. Suddenly he heard Olivia's voice as he turned back to see her rushing towards them with a letter in her hand. So have you done trying to kill us? Thanks to you, teacher is now homeless. Olivia didn't seem afraid of Gaia but mad at her. Instead of handing over the letter to Michael, she yelled at Gaia with her hand on her waist. Nightmare immediately burst into laughter. For God's sake, this is the third time I heard he's homeless thanks to me. Gaia smacked her forehead. You can stay in the guest room, Claire said, but Michael shook his head. Thank you, sect leader, but I'm planning to go to Rivertown, so I'll stay in the restaurant. I'll also send Daniel or Ricky to bring Fover here to build a new home in Majestic. In addition to his trip to the Rivertown, Michael didn't want to stay with Claire because it might create some unwanted rumors that might affect her future when it comes to marriage. Take a seat, Olivia. Claire didn't force Michael as she just nodded at him. She then turned her gaze towards Olivia. In Michael's eyes, Claire seemed different than the girl he first met. The way she was sitting, her posture, the way she talked, everything changed. Like a proper leader, she sat leaning back while keeping one leg on top of the other. They were the signs of a person with a strong heart and mind. He was glad to see that the sect leader isn't a scared little girl anymore. She had grown into a proper leader as he expected. Olivia sat beside Michael, keeping some distance between them. What's in your hand? Michael asked. It's from the Alchemist Guild. Her eyes sparkled in excitement. The letter came for you last week. I think it's the invitation. Her hands shivered while handing over the letter to Michael. The seal was still in place. On top of the letter, Michael saw the green veins coiled around the letter A written in beautiful calligraphy. The crest was etched on the letter in gold, showing the grandiose of the guild. Under their gazes, Michael broke the seal to open the letter. After a few seconds they saw Michael snicker. Humph, the Gauls! Michael threw the letter on the table as Olivia's eyes went wide in shock. In her eyes, the Alchemy Guild was the highest existence among the alchemists. Many would die to receive a letter from the Alchemy Guild, yet he threw the letter like it was garbage. They want me to compete in the upcoming Grand Alchemists competition. After hearing Michael's words, they understood the reason behind his reaction. Compete? They should invite you to judge. Asking a 5-star alchemist to compete with amateurs is an insult. Elder Reiner raised his brows. So you're not gonna go? Olivia asked. I'm going to attend. Not to compete but to show those idiots the difference between me and them. It's time they learned who's the real number 1 inch. Chapter 297, Why did they do that? Olivia mumbled under her breath. Just like Elder Reiner said, it was an insult to ask the second best alchemist in the continent to compete in the tournament instead of asking to judge it. Compared to Ghost, she knew most of the alchemists are amateurs including herself. She was nowhere near his level yet she was considered one of the talented alchemists. I'd say we call all our allies to dinner and reveal your talents there before revealing to the Alchemist Guild. That way you have backing if things went wrong, Claire suggested. It was surprising that Michael was thinking exactly the same thing. When he first showed his talents to Claire and the elders, they were declining and Michael was just an unknown kid. However, everything had changed. The Sunrise sect wasn't declining anymore, they were becoming stronger and stronger each day with new disciples joining and more disciples reaching higher cultivation stages. Besides, no one in their right mind would mess with Ghost or the sect because of Claire's grandfather, a soul refining stage cultivator. He'll ask Raylene to prepare the food, Claire said. I make sure our guests have plenty to drink. Elder Reiner went outside to order wine, leaving the rest of them behind. Since everyone's taking the initiative, I'll go hunt. You can't have dinner without meat, right? Now go play with your brother. Gaia put Cindy on the ground. What are you gonna do, brother? Can I stay with you? Cindy came to Michael. I have a few things to take care of. Well, play later. Michael ruffled Cindy's head with a smile. After everyone left the hallway, only Michael, Olivia, and Claire remained. Teacher, what did you mean by the real number 1? Olivia didn't know Michael could reach 90% purity every time without slipping a single percentage. Everyone including Gabriel claims he's the number 1 alchemist in the Elon continent. What's his purity level? Michael asked Olivia, leaning back on the sofa. 84% is the highest he could reach. Olivia adjusted her glasses. 84% not bad, but it's not this. He willed the system to give him the 90% healing potion he brewed for his personal use. Olivia was confused for a moment, trying to make sense out of his words. In a blink of an eye, she saw a vial with sparkling blue potion appear in Michael's hand. Her eyes immediately went wide as they seemed like they were about to pop out. The sweet fragrance being radiated by the potion filled the hall. This. His words barely escaped Olivia's mouth. 84% pure potion was the highest she had ever seen. It was the better potion in her mind even compared to her teachers. However, the potion in Michael's hand was far more superior to everything she had seen. She could feel the pure arch energy pulsating from the vial. 90% pure healing potion. Michael finished her sentence. She looked at Claire subconsciously to see her not as surprised as she was. Claire received a batch of these potions from Michael in case of emergencies and for her own personal use. Teacher, did you? What do you think? Michael kept giving answers before she could finish off her questions. She was stuttering in shock. Michael placed the potion beside Olivia to take a few moments with the potion. To expand his alchemy empire, he needed Olivia's father's expertise. Her father was Reginald Palmer, the vice president of one of the most influential merchant guilds, the Rainshade. With Nathan's Bradley family providing security services, if he could get Olivia's father on board, he would be able to start distributing his potions all over the continent. I'll leave you two to your alchemy business, Claire giggled, looking at Olivia's dumbstruck face. Ugh, sect leader, do you know where Ricky and Daniel are? They'd be at the herbal garden. Thanks, she gave a slight nod at Michael before leaving the hall. I didn't want to reveal my true abilities for obvious reasons, but it's time to show what I can really do to this continent. After taking in the shock for a couple of minutes, Olivia finally talked without stuttering. Teacher, this means you're on the verge of becoming a legend and a 6-star alchemist. No one has seen a 6-star alchemist since the 5th Supreme Guardian, Andreas MacLeod. The mere mention of the name kindled a bad feeling in Michael's gut. The man eradicated the Order of Death and anyone who worshipped the Dark Lord. The last time Michael met a sliver of soul left behind by Andreas was when he ventured into the treacherous ocean. Michael never knew the Supreme Guardian was a 6-star alchemist until now. I thought 6-star alchemists were myths. When he first asked Gaia about 6-star alchemists, she said they were myths. Many people do say that. They are not to be blamed because it has been roughly 3,000 years since the world has seen the Supreme Guardian. I read some notes about the Supreme Guardian. According to those notes, he was able to achieve 98% purity. Michael entered the system interface. System, remind me, what are the requirements to become a 6-star alchemist? 70,000 badass points to buy and learn the Superior Book of Alchemy. Primordial Fire and Ancient Elven Rune of Fire Mastery. The system listed the requirements. He never even heard of them before. How much would it cost me if I bought everything from you? That would be a great choice. I can give you all of them for only 800,000 badass points. The system sounded extremely excited. It really thought Michael would choose to buy them from the store instead of wasting his time and effort scouring this planet for the required items. It seems I have to wait a little longer, Michael sighed. Reaching 800,000 points would take him at least 2-3 years considering he avoids making unnecessary enemies. Moreover, he couldn't help thinking about searching for the items rather than buying them from the store. Of course, it would take time or even become an impossible task, yet he wanted to see whether he could find the items first before buying from the system. Good luck finding the primordial fires. The system threw him out of the interface. He saw Alvia staring at him with wide eyes. She was still in shock, thinking that she's studying under the #1 alchemist in the entire continent who might become the first 6-star alchemist in 3,000 years. Meet me at Raylene's home in 2 hours and keep this a secret between us. Michael stood up. Of course. Teacher, can I ask you something? Looking at the way she was holding the potion, he knew what she's gonna ask. Yeah, you can keep it. Compare the potions to this and try to find the biggest differences between them. That's your next assignment? Thank you, teacher. She almost shouted in excitement. She ran like a bunny from the hall to study the potion. Leaving Claire's manor, he reached the herbal garden in a minute using the lightning dash spell. The use of the spell earned him almost 3,000 badass points from the disciples. When he reached the herbal garden, he saw dozens of disciples working the field, studying and tending to the herbs. The herbal garden was surrounded by a fence and a 3-meter-wide foundation dig for the glass dome. He looked down into the dig to see a green net above the ground. The net was there as a safety precaution in case someone fell into the hole, especially Cindy or her friends. Looking at the green fields blanketed the ground like a jade blanket, the colorful exotic flowers dancing in the wind, the glistening fruits hanging from 6-feet-tall trees, the sprouts craning their heads from the ground as well as the saplings made him feel proud. The air he inhaled was mixed with sweet and medicinal fragrance permeated from the herbs. He even saw several colorful flocks of birds that he had never seen in his life. Some of the birds were standing on the tree branches while some scoured through the ground for insects to eat. They were nature's pest killers, so the disciples let them do whatever they want without chasing them away. Besides, the sounds of the birds made the garden feel lively. Brother Ghost. He's here, don't mind me, continue your work, Michael said before the disciples start gathering around him like ants around sugar. He then searched for the garden to locate his 2 henchmen. His eyes automatically stopped at the place where he saw neatly stacked crates. Ricky was counting the crates while Daniel was writing something onto his notebook. Even after Gaia almost killed them along with the disciples when she destroyed Michael's home, the 2 henchmen didn't use it as an excuse to avoid working. They came straight to the garden to check the herb stocks. The 2 of them were the busiest people in the sect. In the morning they would be at River Town, supervising the cleaning and miscellaneous works to be done in the restaurant. In the afternoon, they had to make sure the disciples harvest the right amount of herbs from the garden, as some herbs needed to be harvested and kept away from the sunshine as long as possible to increase the medicinal quality. After finishing their work at the herbal garden, they would spend the rest of their day cultivating. Gaia made it mandatory for them to cultivate. She even allocated potions and pills for them to speed up their cultivation. From the system storage, Michael took a white paper and quill to write down everything he needed before inviting his allies to the dinner. Lucifer had his fun. Now was time for Ghost to strengthen his alliances, start his alchemy empire and finally, make steps towards destroying the Guardian Guild once and for all. Chapter 298, No Peeking Lizard. At the moment, inside one of the rooms in Raylene's home, Gaia was carrying Nightmare in her arms while closing his eyes using one hand. "I'm not peeking," Nightmare lied as he tried to peek through the gap between her fingers, yet he couldn't see anything. "Where's the food, bitch?" Nightmare suddenly heard a childish voice. "Whoa, what is that? Is that what you call a dragon?" "Looks small than I expected," Nightmare continued to hear the childish voice. It somehow sounded more like Gaia, only childish. "You ruined a good surprise, little shit," he heard Gaia cursing back. "Who is that?" Nightmare pushed down Gaia's palm with his hands to see a creature with 3 heads staring at him on the table. Vidora and Nightmare entered into a staring contest as they looked at each other without even moving their heads an inch. Gaia slowly put Nightmare on the ground. Nightmare started to circle the table cautiously before slowly moving forward towards the Hydra. "Imsarba, I guess you're our brother." Nightmare was stunned again to see the silver head talk in the voice of a male child. Besides, the silver head sounded exactly opposite to the white head who reminded Gaia of him. He then turned his gaze towards the black head, expecting it to speak. However, unlike the silver and the white head, the black head remained silent. Enough circling, you overgrown lizard. Go fetch me something to eat. Ignoring Iag, Nightmare approached the Hydra step by step. Creak. Suddenly the door creaked open as Nightmare almost plummeted with the table in shock. It was Michael who entered the room. He saw Gaia having a laugh with Nightmare and the Hydra. Come here, she pulled him closer, wrapping her arm around his. Both of them stood in the room's corner watching the Hydra and Nightmare. The scene reminded Michael of dogs meeting their cat sibling for the first time. Only Nightmare was the dog and the cat sibling was the Hydra here. Hey, stop, Iag growled, seeing Nightmare sniffing them. Iag kept hitting Nightmare on the face with her head. Who are they? Nightmare gently picked them up with his hand. Drop us or I'll chew your hand off. Iag tried to wiggle herself out by chewing his hand. But Nightmare barely felt anything. That little shit is Iag, the nice one in the middle is Sarba, and the silent blackie is Kane. Together we call them Vedora. Do you like them? Gaia asked after introducing them to Nightmare. Nightmare once again stared at them from top to bottom. Then, to everyone's surprise, his vertical pupils became rounded as he hugged them, grinning. I love them, they're so cute. You stop. Iag started to shout when Nightmare began to shower them with wet kisses. Gaia couldn't stop herself from scoping them off the floor before giving them a warm embrace. She hugged Michael with one hand while hugging the Hydra and Nightmare with another. They looked like a perfectly happy family. Placing a gentle kiss on Gaia's head, Michael willed the system to activate the runic teleportation. In a blink of an eye, they appeared in Michael's room in the Abyssal. When they looked at the room, they were startled. The room was spotlessly clean. The bed was made neatly like in high-end hotels. There was not a speck of single dust or broken piece of spider on his work table. Even the mirrors he placed on the wall to survey the kingdom were clean, spotless. Welcome, Lord Lucifer, Lady Gaia, Master Sarba, Miss Iag, Master Kane. Nightmare was yet again startled by the stranger. He bared his teeth threateningly at the demon butler. It's a pleasure to meet you again, Master Nightmare. Huh? I never met you before. What are you? Nightmare was taken back by surprise. He's a demon Nightmare. Just like Vedora, he came from another world. The three of you should go have a talk. Michael waved them off and went to his work table. Gaia saw stacks of crates appear around the table. The room was lit in green after Michael conjured his alchemy flames. Do you need any help? She came to his side. I can manage, you go cultivate. We need to be in our best shape before the tournament starts. All right, Gaia jumped on the bed to cultivate. The fusion stage bone still had some energy left in it for her to absorb. She flicked her wrist as the femur bone appeared in her hand. While she was cultivating, Michael began to brew potions and concoct pills for the Majestic. He continued to make pills and potions without a rest. Only Azazel accompanied him as Vedora and Nightmare fell asleep while Gaia was still cultivating. Lord Lucifer, can I bring you anything to eat or drink? I saw bellberries in the forest. This is the 8th time you asked this, Azazel. Am not hungry, the arch energy keeps the body replenished. He took the last herb from a crate. Although Michael was not hungry, he wanted to eat something or drink a mug full of coffee to chase away the sleepiness. He had been making potions and pills for the last 14 hours without a break. It took a toll on his body as he was exhausted both mentally and physically. But as your faithful butler, it's my duty to keep you in your best shape, Lord Lucifer. If I only has a physical body, I would have made you something myself. Why don't you try to make the undeads make me something? Absolutely not, Lord Lucifer. I won't let those filthy vile creatures defile your food. Making them clean your room in the Abyssal is the highest peak of my tolerance of them. Keep an eye on Dalar and his experiments. We can't let the Guardians sniff out this place, he ordered Dalar. Finally, Michael stretched his muscles, yet he didn't stand up. Azazel saw him close his eyes. Azazel thought he had fallen asleep, but after 5 minutes, he opened his eyes again. A black card appeared on the table when he opened his eyes. The card was metallic black. It looked simple yet elegant. On the card center, one could see a skull embossed. A dragon similar to Nightmare coiled around the skull, while the letter G could be seen behind the skull and the dragon. What do you think? Michael asked Azazel. Azazel moved a bit closer to Michael to see the card clearly. It's beautiful, Lord Lucifer. I assume this is the card you're going to give to your allies as ghost? Yep. Michael nodded. He picked up the card from the table, savoring the design. It cost him 50 badass points to design the card. To get 100 cards, he had to spend 4,998 badass points. The 2 points were discounted by the system. What do you see? Keeping the card in his hand, he asked Azazel. The skull is obviously related to your name, Ghost, as the skull often represents the dead and ghosts in this world. The dragon is Master Nightmare. As for the G behind the skull, the others might think it represents your name, but I think it represents Lady Gaia. You're right, Michael expected nothing less from his demon butler. As he said, the skull represented him, the dragon represented Nightmare, and the letter G represented Gaia. Except for the people in this room, no one could tell that the G represents Gaia. For others, the letter G was the first letter of Ghost. Erase everything you asked. Long after the sun had risen from the horizon, Gaia entered their room in Abyssal. Michael was still sitting before his work table, brewing potions and connecting pills. She had never seen him overworking himself like this. He always used to take breaks or train with her, but for the last 2 days, he never even moved away from his work table. After looking into the space ring Ricky gave it to her, she could tell he's going to be busier than now. I also brought something for you to eat. A mug of hot coffee, fried rice, and a large piece of strawberry cake appeared on the table. The sweet smell of the coffee made him take a deep breath. His mouth automatically began water seeing the delicious food on the table. Raylene's food always had the tendency to make him feel hungry even when he was not. Where's Nightmare and Vidora? Michael looked around the room before asking. They are playing in the dark forest. Do you know Vidora is immune to the fear toxin in the forest? As she said, she took a bite from the cake. It might be because of Vidora's origin. Remind me to check what else Vidora is immune to later. Michael started to eat his food before she finished off like the cake. More than anything, he wanted the coffee to keep him awake. I sent the invitations to all our allies including Kane family elders and Olivia's father. Let's see whether they accept our invitation to come to the sect. They will, Michael said. He did not doubt that. If they didn't capitalize on an opportunity when they see one, they wouldn't be where they are. After finishing his food, he took a long sip of coffee. He immediately felt refreshed. While drinking, he retrieved everything inside the space ring Ricky gave to Gaia. You want anything else? She asked. Just make sure the security has no holes. I've already hired the strongest adventure groups from the guild. I'm now going to interview them. Good. Before you go, how many spiders do you think we need to monitor the entire kingdom of Bredia? Finished with the fillers needed for this arc. From the onwards, we can finally dive into the good stuff. Chapter 299. The next day after Gaia gave the food to Michael, she came to his room to inform him about the dinner preparations. As she expected, he was still sitting in front of the work table building spiders. The table was filled with tiny spiders, some of them were crawling on the table like they were alive. Everything's ready for dinner tonight, she came to his side. Good, I'm finished here. Michael waved his hand as all the 1,000 spiders on the table disappeared into the space ring in his hand. He then tossed the space ring to Gaia. How fast can you fly? Under a sky of perfect midnight velvet, under stars so brilliant they drew the eyes heaven-bound. The night was a special kind of blackness, the kind that wants only to hold the stars and help them to shine all the brighter. It was a warm black that hugged Michael no matter what, and within its safety he could feel his own soul all the more clearly, that innocent inborn spark. Whether it was because he was born to be a Dark Lord, he felt stronger and safer in the dark. He was looking at the starry sky from the mountain peak. Despite the light produced by the half-moon and the millions of stars, he was barely visible with his full black attire. A few minutes passed by in peace. Only the silent night accompanied him until he saw a couple of Pegasus flying towards the sect. He took a few steps to drop down from the mountain peak. He felt the wind gushing against him, the gravity pulled him down faster and faster before he activated the lightning dash to fly. In a blink of an eye, he turned himself into a bolt of lightning to reach the sect. The dinner table was set in Claire's manor. Michael landed before the manor to see Ricky and Daniel waiting to welcome the guests. They wore gold-embroidered gray coat suits. The coat suit was not of the modern age but of the medieval era. Master Ghost, they bowed with absolute respect towards Michael. Guests are arriving. Be on your guard, yes. Yes, Master Ghost, Ricky stuttered. This was the first time he had been to a dinner like this. For a commoner like him, it was always difficult to interact with nobles. Daniel was able to hide his anxiousness, unlike Ricky who was shivering from top to bottom. Relax. You just need to greet them and show them the way to the hall. Michael patted Ricky on the shoulder to give him some confidence. It's just we are commoners dash, that doesn't matter anymore. You work for me, that means you're on equal foot with most of the nobles. Now be on your guard and do what you were told. With a final pat to Ricky's back, Michael climbed the stairs to enter the manor. And Ricky, Daniel, just a few steps away from the front door, Michael turned back to call them. Try not to embarrass me and yourselves, as he said. He entered the manor, disappearing from their view. When Michael entered the manor, he was overwhelmed by the aroma emanating from the air. The aroma was so strong that he could basically taste the air. Following the aroma, he came to the hall where there was a large round table full of food. Mushroom soup, bitter greens with tomatoes the size of peas, rare roast beef slices as thin as paper, noodles in a green sauce, cheese that melts on your tongue served with sweet blue grapes. The disciples dressed in white tunics moved wordlessly to and from the table, keeping the platters and glasses full. The centerpiece of the table was a honey-glazed pit-roasted forest boar. The golden-brown meat glistened under the chandelier light. Brother Ghost, the disciples who were working as the servers today greeted Michael. Continue your work, I'll be right back. Michael made his way towards Claire's room to meet her and Gaia. Meanwhile, the disciples finished decorating the dinner table with delicious foods cooked by Raylene. Nathan was flying behind his uncle Lord Malin on the Pegasus in silence. A trio of guards followed them behind. Under the darkness of the night, one couldn't see the five of them without using a spell. It was surprising for Nathan to see how quickly his uncle postponed or cancelled everything he had to do to attend the dinner hosted by Ghost. As the family head of the Bradley family, Lord Malin barely had time to cultivate, yet he made time for Ghost. Unlike his uncle, he didn't come to meet Ghost but his teacher Olivia. He wanted to ask a few questions regarding the upcoming Alchemists tournament. They really turned the sect around, Lord Malin said in surprise, looking at the buildings on the ground. Normally the buildings in this continent would be lighted using torches. Only wealthy families and sects could afford to light their buildings using the chandeliers. Lord Malin didn't expect the Sunrise sect to be using chandeliers to light almost 50 to 60 buildings. In addition, the buildings themselves looked sumptuous with their unique architecture. For a moment, Nathan was unable to guess where they should land. Looking around the area, they found a majestic building with water fountains, a large garden and several lamps decorating it. The manor was brightly lit from all the corners as it looked like it was painted with gold and silver. When they descended, Nathan saw two noblemen waiting at the entrance. Their group approached the two noblemen. Welcome to the Sunrise sect, Lord Malin, the head of House Bradley, and Lord Nathan. They were slightly surprised to see the two noblemen greeting them by bowing their heads. The nobles wouldn't bow their heads towards the other noble. Lord Malin was confused. By looking at the gold-embroidered dress they were wearing, they looked like nobles. Please follow me this way, honored guests. Nathan saw the young one gesturing at them to follow him. Nathan could see the youngster was nervous, yet he tried his best not to show it outside. With a nod, Lord Malin started to follow Ricky behind. The moment they stepped into the manor, all of them were overwhelmed by the aroma in the air. It immediately made their mouths water and their stomachs growl. Hey kid, is this the magic of the five-star chef I'm smelling? Lord Malin asked Ricky while taking deeper breaths. Yes, Lord Malin. Every single dish has been cooked by Lady Raylene herself. Taking another 20 or so steps, they finally reached the hall where several people were sitting around the dinner table filled with colorful, delicious food. Nathan saw his teacher Olivia sitting next to a middle-aged man with a brown goatee. His brown hair had patches of white hair above the ears. Other than Olivia and the man, Nathan saw a woman in her mid-30s occupying the chair next to the Sunrise sect leader Claire. She was not as beautiful as Olivia or Claire, yet she had a certain charm to her. Especially her skin that almost glistened. He had never seen such smooth, silky skin. When his eyes fell on the three old men enjoying their wines with broad smiles on their faces, Nathan was stunned speechless because they were the elders of House Kane, one of the most powerful families in royal land. Enjoy the dinner, honored guests. Bowing his head, Ricky left the hall as Lord Malin walked towards the table with Nathan before signaling the guards to stay outside. Lord Malin, the new family head of Bradley, Elder Walter welcomed Malin with a wide grin. What took you so long? Elder Martin asked while taking a long sip from his wine glass. Elder Edison acknowledged Malin by giving a slight nod before continuing to enjoy the appetizers, chili lime river shrimp cups. Nice to see you again, Elder Walter, Elder Martin, Elder Edison. Malin greeted each of the elders with the utmost respect. Compared to the humongous existence like House Kane, House Bradley was nothing. Sitting on the same table with them equally could already be viewed as an honor and an opportunity. Teacher, Nathan took a seat beside Olivia. He was the last to sit before they saw Ghost and Gaia walking towards them from the room on the other side of the hall. Everyone except Claire had a look of surprise on their faces. Ghost looked very different from the last time they saw him. Other than his choice of black dress, everything about him was changed. In simple words, he looked like a different person. I'm honored to welcome you all to this dinner, ladies and gentlemen, he said, raising a glass of wine towards them as the girl beside him took the empty chair. We're sorry about Disciple Jack, Ghost. We heard he was your friend, Elder Walter said. Michael wasn't surprised as he knew they might be keeping a tab on him and the sect. He would have done the same if he was in their shoes. Me too, Elder Walter. First of all, I would like to thank you for accepting my invitation and attending this dinner on such short notice despite your busy schedules, Michael said. Putting the wine glass back on the table, he flicked his wrist as small rectangular wooden boxes appeared before each of them except Claire and Gaia. I'm good at many things but giving speeches was not one of them. So, I'll get straight to the point without wasting your time. Ladies and gentlemen, please open the boxes in front of you. As he said, he went straight to the point, avoiding unnecessary pleasantries. With his talents and what he was about to reveal, he didn't have to woo them with pleasantries. The man sitting next to Olivia was the first to open the box. The moment he lifted the box's top, his face was brightened by the light coming from inside the box. His eyes opened as wide as humanly possible. One by one they all opened the boxes to have the same startled look on their faces. 90% pure potion. The man next to Olivia uttered the words, completely shocking everyone in the hall. Chapter 300. All of their minds went blank for a moment in shock. Except for Elder Walter Kane, who saw a 92% pure potion in a ruin a few decades ago during his time on the Azer continent, no one had seen a potion with more than 85% purity. Elder Edison gently picked up the glistening blue potion and the blood-red pill gently from the box. His hands slightly shivered holding the two. Where did you get these? Elder Edison asked. Everyone's gaze now fell on Michael, expecting his answer. Made by yours truly. Michael let out a slight grin. He looked extremely proud. To some of their eyes he even seemed arrogant. Do you like demonstration, elders? Although he asked, he didn't give time to answer as he already conjured the alchemy flames. Under their widened gazes, Michael threw the herbs into the fire. No one moved their eyes from Michael or even blinked an eye. Nathan had seen him concoct pills or brew potions without using a cauldron as all the other alchemists. No matter how many times he had seen it, his way of making pills and potions still made him speechless. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 2,000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,600 badass points. The notification sounds rang continuously in his mind. He received more points than he initially expected. In a couple of minutes, a blue glistening potion resembling the one in the box floated above his hand. Every single one of them could tell that the two potions are the same, 90% pure. The sudden rude awakening made them lose their appetite. Nathan wanted to reach ghost level in the future. He knew reaching 80% purity would take him years of hard work. Yet after seeing Ghost was able to reach 90% purity, reaching his level seemed impossible. Since when can you make pills and potions with 90% purity? Elder Walter asked. A shaky smile started to emerge on his face as the surprise sank in his mind. Since I turned 19, Michael paused for a moment before continuing. My mentor used to make me go into the god-forsaken dungeons finding ancient techniques and books. He never wanted me to hide my talents, but when I left my mentor's care, I learned that showing heaven-defying talent without the power to protect oneself is a recipe for disaster. So I pretended to be number 2-inch except for Gaia. No one knew he was lying through his teeth. By lying he had a mentor, he established a powerful figure behind him in their mind. This would make getting the family Kane's protection easier, as they would try to get his mentor's connection to strengthen their family. Besides, saying he had a mentor would be more logical than saying I have a system. Now I think it's time to reveal my talents to the world. Since I consider all of you as my friends, I wanted to show you this first. Everyone knew he has something of them to ask. Nonetheless, it felt good to be considered important, especially to the elders of Kane family. Let's be practical. Great talent comes with great danger. Revealing myself as the number 1 will put me in various dangers. No one likes to be bested by a youngster like me, especially those in the Alchemy Guild. And you want our protection. Elder Edison didn't beat around the bush. He just directly asked Michael. More like getting into a mutually beneficial relationship. Mutually what? Elder Edison didn't clearly get the meaning of Michael's words. You help me and I help you. Elder Martin broke it down into simple words for Elder Edison. I have to be honest, kid. Your talent is really astounding, but as you said, revealing your talents to the outside world makes you a target of many powerful entities. Helping you might get us into more trouble than it's worth. Elder Edison's words surprised most of them. However, Michael remained calm with his usual smile on his face. Since you're being direct with me, I'd be too, Elder Edison. You may be right, helping me might actually put those who protect me in danger. But, Michael took the blue potion from the table, holding it in his hand to let everyone see the vial. Dangers often come with opportunities, and there are many families out there that would kill to capitalize on those opportunities. I bet I can become a court alchemist of any of the 4 kingdoms, even better, all of them." The way Michael calmly talked as well as his words reminded them that he's not desperate for their help. Rather, he was the one allowing them to help him. "And when's the last time you met a 5-star alchemist who takes nothing but ancient artifacts and treasures to even consider making something for you?" Gaia asked, looking at the elders. They had to agree with her. There were only a handful of 5-star alchemists in the continent. They would all take either an ancient artifact or extremely valuable treasures as the payment for making pills or potions for them, not gold coins. "So you're not planning to give your services for treasures or artifacts like the rest of the 5-star alchemists?" the man next to Olivia asked. A well-hidden interest could be seen in his eyes. "That brings me to why I invited Lord Malin of House Bradley and you, Lord Reginald, the vice president of Rainshade Merchant Guild." Michael introduced Olivia's father in case someone didn't know his identity. By noticing the way Nathan's looking at Reginald, it was obvious this was the first time he met Olivia's father. Like Lucifer had Maxine, Gibson, Tiberius, Heinberg as the core group, the people sitting at the dinner table were the core group of ghosts except for Nathan. In the future they would need to work together, so they needed to get acquainted. "I'm planning to expand the Majestic, and I'd like your help to do that. Lord Malin is already on board to take care of the security." "Of course my dad will help you, teacher. You have my word." "Dad, say something." Olivia elbowed Reginald as the man revealed an embarrassed smile. "I have to discuss with the president, but I can assure you that he will get on board. We just need to iron out some financial matters. Since you're my teacher who charges not a single coin for teaching me, my dad will get you the best deal possible. Won't you, Dad?" Olivia glared at her father, giving him a death stare. Unlike the others, Elder Walter didn't control his laughter. "It seems you don't call the shots, Reginald." Reginald sighed. "We can talk about this in detail later, Lord Reginald." "And elders," Michael turned his gaze towards the 3 elders, "the card I gave you is a sign of our friendship. It will give you direct access to me, and my services are free of charge, no questions asked. Take this as gratitude for offering your protection for the sect. I have one last announcement to make. As you probably know, Raylene, my friend, is a 5-star chef. We are opening a restaurant in Rivertown next week. I'd be honored if you all came to the opening with your families. Now please enjoy the dinner. My men outside will take you to me if you want to meet me later." Michael raised the wine glass one more time before leaving the dinner table. He wanted them to enjoy the dinner while making up their minds about helping him, especially the elders of House Kane. They were the biggest pieces of pawns in his game. Earlier, when they agreed to offer their protection, they didn't stand to make enemies out of the alchemists of Guild. This time it was different. People like Gabriel might be pissed when Michael reveals himself as the number 1. As far as he knew, the Alchemist Guild was unlikely to go to war with a powerful existence like House Kane. An official alliance would have to come from people above the elders in the family hierarchy. This dinner was just a way to get the elders to make those people agree to the alliance. Michael and Gaia stood before a window in an empty room. They were enjoying the view of the starry sky in peace when they heard someone knocking on the door. "Come in," Michael said. Soon the door creaked open to reveal Ricky, who was leading Reginald to him. "Master Ghost, Elder Walter asked me to give you this." Ricky handed over a sealed letter with the House Kane crest on before leaving the room. "Lord Reginald." Michael shook Reginald's hand. "Miss Elia." After Ghost, Reginald shook Gaia's hand. "I assume you're here to talk about the financial matters?" Reginald nodded. "How many potions and pills can you give us a month, Master Ghost?" "You're more suited to answer that question than me, Lord Reginald. Assuming you want to target the entire continent, I'd say 600 potions a month would be best." Both Michael and Gaia were surprised to hear him. They expected the number to be much higher than 600. Looking at their surprised faces, Reginald smiled. "Since you're giving your knowledge to my daughter without charging, I'll return the favor by letting you in on a trade secret. Always keep the demand higher than the product availability. People need to search everywhere to get their hands on your pills and potions, Master Ghost. If they could get them easily, demand would eventually dry out and price would go down." Michael couldn't help wondering how his products could lose demand, yet he avoided arguing with Reginald because he was the merchant who knew about business more than him. Therefore he decided to let Reginald do what he does best. "All right, we take your advice. Now shall we discuss the price and your cut?" With a wave of her hand, she placed 2 sofas on the room for them to sit. "I need to take this moment and thank every single one of you who reads my story and supports me. Reaching 300 chapters wouldn't have been possible without you guys and gals. I'm truly out of words to show my gratitude. The only way to show my gratitude is by giving you more quality chapters. I've been constantly working on improving the quality of the already published chapters and doing my best to pump out chapters with minimum errors. Thank you again. Yours truly. Chapter 301, so 20% is the lowest you can go? Gaia asked. If it was up to me completely, I would not even take a cut considering what you're doing to Olivia. However, the Merchant Guild rules are pretty strict. I have to convince those old muckers to invoke the Golden Opportunity rule to get you this 20%. I have to call in every favor. 20% will do then. Michael knew Reginald was doing his best. The man did not seem like swindling Michael but genuinely trying to get him the best deal possible. 20% for you, 10% for House Bradley. You said you can sell a potion or pill for the price of an average of 80,000. 600 into 80,000 is 48 million. Minusing the cuts, 14. 4 million. Well, get 33. 6 million inch. Michael was really surprised to see her mathematical skills. She was like a human calculator. She didn't even blink doing the calculations. Since our income will surpass 10 million, we need to pay the bloody taxes. What's the going tax rate of the kingdoms? It took Reginald a couple of seconds to answer as he was stunned by the girl's skills and numbers. Only girls coming from royal families or prominent noble families received such high education. This meant the girl obviously either a lady of a powerful noble family or a princess. According to Olivia, they knew nothing about both of their origins. Reginald, however, now narrowed down into two possible options for Elia's origins. 5% in Bredia, 8% in Kethen, 10% in Royal Land, 7 in Drattle and 10 in Thusia. Fuck, Gaia punched the sofa's arm. We need to give 40%? Relax, there might be some ways to reduce or even get a waiver from tax from the kings. Michael patted her on the shoulder to calm her down. It's impossible, Master Ghost. Michael turned to see Reginald shaking his head. The royal families alone won't fix the tax rate. They discuss with the noble families and agree on a tax rate together. To change the tax rate, all of them had to be on board. They won't make an exception for you because if they did, there might be several other important figures who would start to ask for tax reduction. This will complicate things, so no matter the situation, they won't change the tax rate for a single person. It's either tax rate increases or decreases for the kingdom as a whole. Trust me, it's better to pay the taxes. Besides, tax evasion is a serious crime in the eyes of the Guardian Guild. Michael sighed inside. The Bloody Guardian Guild was in every step of his path to greatness. Although 40% of his income was a huge chunk, he knew it was better to pay the tax as Reginald suggested. 40% tax, 30% cuts, that means we'll get only 14. For million. If we take into the maintenance of our herbal garden, we'll roughly get 14. 2 million a month. That's more than many noble families make a month, Master Ghost. The Rainshade will take care of paying the taxes and everything. You just need to sign an agreement and give us a payment method to put the gold each month. Gaia nodded before turning her head to look at Michael. It's time we get a pay cube from the Grand Spire Bank. Michael let Gaia handle the negotiations while he opened the letter given to him by the Kane family elders. Come to Kane family compound in Royal Land before the championship tournament begins. Michael read the words written on the letter in his mind. It was obvious that the Kane family needs him to do something for them before they agree to offer their protection. He kinda expected this. After all, there was no such thing as freebies in this world. The lights are out, get ready. There were 3 figures hiding in the forest surrounding Claire's manor. Due to the darkness, one could not see them except for several glistening stones in their hands. The stones were in a perfect diamond shape, radiating a faint navy blue light. They have a dragon and a soul refiner. We don't need to wake either of them. Everything must be in place before the young master arrives. The figures were talking in husky voices as they continued to hide the stones in the bushes, under the tree roots and on top of the branches. They continued to place several stones deeper into the forest while keeping an eye on Claire's manor. It's done, we just need to lure him out somehow. Remember, we only need him. The sound-sucking array in place. Good. The young master said he'd be asleep after dinner. We need to do something to wake him up and come to us. What kind of cultivator sleeps every day like a commoner? Apparently he is. How do we wake him up without the others? Shoo, something's moving. The 3 figures suddenly went silent as they heard a rustling sound coming from the forest. Have you 3 idiots done everything I ordered you to? Regardless of the cat's eye potion they drank, they could barely see what's in front of them. Yet, they immediately recognized the person as their young master after hearing the voice. Yes, young master. We were just thinking about how to wake him up and make him come to us. That's beyond the limit of your brains, the young master said. The 3 servants waited for him to see how their young master was going to wake Ghost up. Instead of doing what they were expecting, the young master walked towards a tree. He placed his hand on the tree as a symbol of a tortoise appeared on the tree. It glowed in gold color for a few seconds before fading away into the tree. He continued to place the runes in a large circle. Each time he placed a rune on the tree, it glowed brighter and brighter. The glow of the runes helped the servants see their young master clearly. He wore dark brown armor made of what looked like a magical beast's skin. One of the servants who saw the armor had a look of utter shock on his face. Young master, is that the Blackwing Saurus armor? Surprisingly you're correct. Get 1,000 gold in my name. The young master's words made the servant's heart jump out in joy. This was why they worshipped him no matter how many times he cursed or beat the crap out of them. End of the day, the young master always took care of them. Young master, look. Suddenly another servant pointed at Claire's manor. Thanks to the cat's eye potion they could see a figure walking out of the house. Well, the prey has come outside. Unlike the servants, the young master drank a high-quality cat's eye potion. He couldn't help smiling, thinking that he was stalking the person who brewed the potion in the first place. Ghost? Are the recording stones well hidden? Yes, young master. Good, I want to record his every single move. Now get out of here. The servants quickly ran away from the place, leaving the young master alone. After seeing his servants retreat to a safe distance, he flicked his wrist as a longbow appeared in his hand. The young master raised the bow as an arrow made of sparkling silver energy materialized out of thin air. Taking a long breath to steady his aim, he released the arrow. Whoosh! The arrow pierced through the air at extreme speed. Just when the arrow was about to hit its target, the young master saw Ghost catch the arrow in the mid-air. The arrow shattered in his hand. Take the bait, the young master grinned, seeing Ghost look in the direction where the arrow came from. As the young master calculated when he studied Ghost, he used the speed spell. It took him only a couple of seconds before hearing the cracking noise of the lightning bolts. The young master's bow disappeared from his hand. He remained calmly expecting his target to arrive. Suddenly, the runes he previously placed glowed brighter and brighter, producing a faint whistling sound. Following the glowing runes, a faint dome of blue energy appeared around in a 5-meter radius. Inside the dome, the lightning bolts disappeared to reveal his target, Ghost. The light produced by the golden rune revealed one to another. The young master was covered from head to toe with body-fitting black wing saurus armor and a thick mask covering his face. Only his eyes remained uncovered. On the other side, Ghost stood there without a shred of fear or confusion in his eyes. He was calm despite the sudden ambush. His reaction somewhat confused the young master. Do you have a reason for trying to kill me? Ghost asked. Trying to kill you? Nah. I just want to become a better, stronger fighter. And you're gonna help me? How am I gonna do that? By fighting me, how else? The young master leaped at Ghost like a panther. Sharp silver claws began to grow from his fingers while the adrenaline filled his body, making him excited. Where do you clowns come from? The young master saw Ghost shake his head. Despite being called a clown, the young master remained calm. He was trained to control his emotions during a battle. Therefore, Ghost's technique of making his opponents mad wouldn't work on him. Ghost, meet your exorcist. As the words escaped the young master's mouth, the battle between them finally started. You're tuning in to the Phantom Sword Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.